Come on down and be uncomfortable.
Down where? Down there?
Right there.
Oh, right here.
If you want to come up here, that's fine.
Oh, sorry, I'm going to bring it up. Go ahead.
I'm Paul Larson. I own property at 26 Tuttle Road, which is the land adjacent to Marion's Camp.
Yep.
And I have a stone wall that retains some of the parking area. And it was built in 1995, but some of it now needs to be repaired. It's been bulging out. Apparently, it didn't have enough drainage when it was built. So there's it's bulging. I've got some photographs, and I have a brief sketch. It's a little over 100 feet from the lake, and it's the wall itself is about 3.5 feet tall.
Are you just repairing the wall?
Yes. The
Not bringing
base,
stones in, not bringing...
No.
Okay.
The base of the wall shouldn't be affected, but it's above the wall that it's bulged out quite a bit.
Yep.
And it needs to be repaired. Some of the stones have gotten loose.
Yep.
So I can...
Back that way, please.
This is the wall area. It needs only the section that faces the lake needs to be
All right,
repaired.
so if I line it up like this, it's along here, along the road?
Yes.
Along the road?
No, it's actually way down here because the property is like 550 feet deep.
Oh, that's stone wall.
Right.
Okay.
So, and I have these pictures to show the wall and the damage to it.
Okay. That's down. So, the wall is right in here. Is that right? That was, can you?
Yes, on the upper end, you can see where the gravel parking lot is down in the front. That's what's the light area right there. So yes, where you are now is where the parking area is, and just in front of that is where the wall is.
Okay. In front of that, as in on the lakeside or the roadside?
On the lake side.
On the lakeside front.
And like I said, that shows that it's a little over 100 feet from the actual edge of the water.
Well, let's see. Okay, let me do a little exercise. 130, 140?
No, not quite that much. I think it was 115 feet from the water.
You want to go
Oh,
with
wait a
this
minute.
number.
It looks like this thing right here, right? Is it this thing?
Yes. yeah.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah, so it does have that shape to it, so, okay.
114. Well,
Sounds right?
that's good, okay.
He's learning.
The jurisdiction is 200 feet. There is an exemption for in-kind repair replacement. And, now that you have a visual, you.
Oh,
I'm fine.
it's not anything new.
Yep.
And it's
Just
not,
wanna
it's
repair
it's
it.
not below ground level. It's at all,
Yep.
above the ground.
Looks good to me.
You're good. Good. Joyce?
All set?
Bob?
Yep.
We have no problems with you repairing that in kind?
And there will be a silt fence put up also.
Okay.
But the land itself, shouldn't be disturbed, very little anyway. But I wanted to make sure we took any precautions that the town wanted.
So much easier when you come in before.
That's
Thank
what
you.
that's what I figured, yes. I was hoping that would be the case.
Yep.
so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Will I receive anything in the mail or to,
Nope.
no? I didn't know if I needed to receive anything before I could have the work done or...
You're on TV. You just document it.
Start tomorrow.
If you had filed an if you had done an RDA or a NOI, you would have, but we aren't requiring that.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Seven 7:05, look at that, moving right along. 15 West Sutton Road,
Make
Alden down.
a motion to continue to November 16th, 2017 at 7:05.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
7:05, 28R Central Turnpike Dam, C. Robbie. Anyone here on that? No?
Let me check my notes on that.
Here, but I don't have anything. I sent out the letter for them to come in.
Well, that's one we're arguing over, or they're arguing over the ownership.
Yeah, this is, yeah, so.
Well, we actually, we sent out a enforcement order, we should have, that's what we worked on
Well,
in the
that-
last couple of weeks.
Yep. The enforcement order went
Sent
out
out
with the
some-
memo.
So we have to ratify it.
Yep, you need to ratify an enforcement order. So, let me bring it up. And I'll show you how I worded it.
At best, that's very awkward.
Need to use that way too. Move the screen over there.
General
Both
public
ways.
can't see it.
Both
Yep.
ways. Both ways screen.
Or television like the other one has.
Next town hall. Put it in for the next town
Oh,
hall.
easy. Big fella.
Okay,
Unless you're gonna be
a
quiet.
memo also went out to the Board of Health. That went out to the Board of Health, Wanda?
Yep.
As a follow-up, is coordination with Board of Health, because these beaver issues require coordination with Board of Health to the public safety and public health issues. Okay, so here's, it looks like the extent and type of activity, non-management of beaver activity, which has exacerbated the impoundment of water behind an existing dam. Okay? And findings, other. Elevated unmanaged water levels causing impact to bank, bordering vegetated wetland, and bordering land subject to flooding at a minimum, and affecting their ability to provide for the public interest under Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and 310 CMR 10, including, but not necessarily limited to, protection of public and private water supply, groundwater supply, flood control, storm damage prevention, and prevention of pollution. So that's the wrap list. Okay. And then the order requires a restoration plan by November 15th of this year for the following. Lowering the water level to the historic bankful elevation. The Conservation Commission recommends a long-term solution to the beaver problem, such as the installation of a beaver deceiver. Failure to comply may result in fines under Article 12, Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Section 12-12, subsection G. So that's how you get them with bylaw fines if they refuse to. Yes. So there you have it.
There's nobody in the general public to speak on this. We need a motion to.
Make a motion to ratify the enforcement order.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Do you want that on the next meeting or anything, or on board business?
I don't think we need to until the 15th.
Right.
Okay. So the next meeting is the 4th of October.
Got some time.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun.
The,
Okay, so now we
Minutes?
have a few minutes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of September 6, 2017.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Faniff,
Yes, sir.
you get to visiting 115 Leland Hill Road.
It looks like Mr. Snyder did not do anything as stated in the last meeting. I have some pictures to show you. Nope. One of the things that was asked for is to remove the cordwood, and that the area was gonna get stabilized with seed, and he was also talking about planting a few more shrubs. Also required was the removal, this is not a very good picture, but the shrubs that he already put up. Also supposed to move the plow, still there. And another thing too, I don't know if it was there before, but there's a tree here. If you go back, you know, the great thing about the pictures is you can go back and reference what was there before. If you go back to the 16th when I went there the first time, it looks a lot the same. You know, plow's still there, right there. And this is where that tree was just sitting. You know, it's like, well, where did that tree come from? Did I miss that? Was it in a spot that I couldn't see it the first time, or is that something new?
It is in one drive.
Yeah, so the request to Mr. Snyder was 6-foot path. Everything else, seed it, stabilize it.
Yep.
You're talking about putting up a few more shrubs, that's great. But I would be back in 2 weeks, check on progress. Progress is nothing at the moment.
He did state he had some health issues, right? Maybe.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I remember he said he was on disability,
Yeah.
so I presume yes.
Send a letter, ask what his intentions are, I suppose.
Could it be that he couldn't get the equipment from wherever he would get it
Not our
from?
problem,
Yep.
just ask the question.
Yep.
I guess you want a letter on that?
At the same time, I think he requested him to come in to explain.
Yep.
Not just.
Thank you.
Pass that back to Wanda, I guess.
To be fair, I only looked at it from the road, I did not go onto the property. Sometimes seed can be kind of hard to see. I didn't see any from the road.
You'd think you'd take the plow out and the other thing before you did the
Right,
seeding work, so.
Right, so, yeah, it kind of goes, if you put it
Yep.
into context.
A CFC to sign,
Which one?
11 Rand's Horn.
Did we sign it once? It says re-sign.
Yeah, what,
Hold on. Oh, there was a typo on the form, and because it had already been registered with the Worcester Registry of Deeds, we need to re-sign it. So she couldn't just change it because of where it's located. If they hadn't registered it, so if everybody can just put the John Hancock on there again. I don't.
Yeah,
know,
not
I
me,
don't
right?
think You can sign
Brandon
it.
on this one?
Yeah, it's for Bob Martin. And when the lawyer called, she said, "Oh, can I change that?" I said, no, because they had registered it. So that's all we need to do with that.
What's the owner, 160 Dodge Hill Road that's after that?
That's
160
certificate of
Dodge Hill Road.
compliance.
That's the sign for, let's see, 160. This is the certificate. Once the order conditions gets registered, it's gonna come back with the registration numbers. I will fill out the rest of the paperwork because it goes on the front page, even though this has a book and page number, but I think it's wrong. So, in order to give the whole three of them, I can't. The order conditions needs to be signed for 159 Dodge Hill that you issued. That needs to be signed. And then this, if you want to sign this when the person comes back with the registered order conditions, I can just put the book and page number on there and then I can mail that out.
We'll sign it when the stuff comes back.
This one's mine, right?
I'm not clear on what,
Not clear on this?
That's the one that you issued, well, you closed the public hearing. I believe it was at the last meeting.
Memory serves, I recuse because it's related to me,
This is
but
for
that
you.
was the one that was agreed to be signed. It just never made it around the
It
table.
didn't make it around the table that night. That's what happened with that.
well, you, okay. Sign all of here.
Your signature's better than mine.
long night, isn't it?
As well as this one for 160, because this says 160 at the bottom.
Is this the one that isn't registered yet?
Right, right.
So this stays with you.
Yeah, well, it's up to you guys if you wanna sign it and let me send it all forward.
Brandon, I believe Brandon did an inspection of 160.
So I did.
Yeah, he did.
And I have,
I cannot sign this one.
that's the property. Okay. That's the plan of record. And the septic system is behind this. And this to the left side, so that there's no encroachment into that wet meadow, which is the same one for 159. It's all stable, looking good.
Need that in a hurry?
I was gonna try to do them the same day, but Wanda says I can't because it has to have this revised number.
Because these numbers are wrong. They can't be on here. So, what time is it? 7:20 is 24 Mallard. Up to that position.
According to this, right here at 7:16. You have 7:24 on yours, so I guess if you average them
I'm going by
out.
a clock up on the wall.
Perfect.
Which
Perfect.
isn't too easy. I'm gonna pass that down. This is a new filing, so it needs to be read into a minute.
Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 20th, 2017, at 7:20 PM at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Oxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. Purpose of this hearing is to review a determination of applicability submitted to the Conservation Commission by Rosemary Salem, Sutton, Mass. Project consists of removal of 1 hemlock tree, 1 spruce tree on map 15, parcels 65, 124 Mallard Way, Sutton, Mass. Come on down.
So,
You want to take some trees down?
I would like to take the 2 down that are right between my neighbor and my house. They're pretty close to the walkway on both of them, both houses.
Yep.
My neighbor's here also.
Trees are healthy, you
There's
just want to
pictures.
take them down?
No, I gave a letter from the
Yeah, there's
arborist.
Mr. Chairman, there's a letter from Full Circle Tree Care,
Mm.
142 West Street in Douglas. I can't make out,
It's in
The
the
name.
file, the original, I
uh,
believe. Not your, yeah, in that file.
so it's the letter from the, I don't know if it's an arborist, but it's tree care. Anyway,
No, it has been reversed. He's the one that's supposed to be taking it down.
I have some pictures here too, it might help you.
yeah, it reads, hemlock and spruce both have split trunks with false connections at base, and hemlock has a pocket of decay in base. With proximity near houses, it is recommended they come down.
Now, living on the lake, I know we have a problem with the hemlocks. They just, I don't know if there was some sort of,
Yeah.
It was
illness that
the,
went through, or-
they had
I keep
adulted-
trimming them up and they
Yeah,
just go
yeah,
in.
it's worse and worse
Yeah,
every
right.
year.
So the question is, will you accept that letter? And the second part is, if you do, what will the commission do about replacement?
Do you know if this man's an arborist?
I know he works with his father. The father is an arborist. I'm not sure if Nick, who came out, was an arborist. It's a family business, so.
What are you thinking about for replacing them?
Not something that would grow as tall, if I could stop that. So some kind of a flowering shrub maybe, or,
Gotta be a native tree.
okay, so what would you suggest?
Oak, maple.
Maple, oak. form of a pine.
Those are gonna grow tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
American hawthorn beam, birch. Birch won't grow as tall. You could do a paper birch, gray birch. Even a cherry tree wouldn't grow quite as tall. Serviceberry, shadbush.
Is there a list somewhere that I could,
Well, these guys should be able to recommend something to you that's not gonna grow as tall, but also be native.
okay.
It has to be native, it can't be,
Yeah, it can't be exotic, like from another country, or,
Shrubs wouldn't be allowed,
we usually,
only because of the size, that's what I'm thinking down there. The
Well,
lots are so small.
The policy is to replace with another tree possible in the approximate area they would cut down, or closer to the water if possible. The commission has made exceptions when you put up a lot of shrubs, like multiple shrubs, not just one shrub for one tree. And that's how many, that's up to the commission, but usually it's a tree for a tree. If you have another place that you could put shrubs, do you have a retaining wall at the water? Or is it just, most of the single-terry is a retaining wall at
It's a
the water?
retaining wall.
Yeah.
In my head, I was thinking shrubs along the fence line, so it's a 100-foot fence line. There's forsythia in there now, there's,
Right, that's the other thing, is that people like to do shrubs along the property line because they don't get in the way. But the object is to try to create some kind of a little buffer strip for water quality improvement next to the lake.
and shade for temperature.
Yeah, if possible. The lake's big, but whatever can be done.
Wasn't there a type of maple that stayed short?
Yeah, Japanese maple, but they don't.
That's not native.
The kind with the red leaves?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought that was
not
red maple
native.
for some reason.
These yours, did you?
Yes.
Yep, here you go. Thank you.
So,
So what'd you like to do?
2 trees or a bunch of shrubs?
Well, first of all, I think the issue is of, before you get there, you gonna accept this or not?
I'm comfortable with it because the trees are obviously damaged, and I don't think there's any question that
Okay.
the trees are a danger, or could be a danger.
And if everyone agrees, the next question is, per policy, the replacement policy, what's your pleasure?
And let's, comfortable with that?
Yeah, that's good.
Well,
So, determination would be a negative determination contingent upon the condition of replacing the trees with,
That's next in line, isn't it? What's your pleasure, man?
I would rather go the shrub route. I think just putting another tree to,
And where would,
if you saw really how close we are,
Yeah.
this is
well,
just going to
let
be
me bring up
over.
an aerial photograph of the property that we can work with here. Mallard Way. That's, yeah. Which one is it?
24.
the numbers aren't clear on that.
Yeah, left, it's down on this one here, I believe?
Probably
this
then it's that one, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
There's a carport there, yeah. So the trees are up away from the lake.
Yeah. You have any room down at the lake at all to create nah, most people, yeah.
There's,
It's all lawn.
Well, it's so long, but it's,
it's so limited, that's a
What-
100 by 50 foot.
so what's this right here?
That's a ramp that goes down into the water.
Oh, okay. And then you have the dock, and then whatever little space you have, the
That's,
grass is right
yeah,
there.
like 15 feet maybe,
15 feet between here and here.
I don't know, maybe.
And it's the border on the left as we're looking at it?
Yes, so right up in the top left corner, right
Yeah.
there,
These
so that's where
guys.
the 2 trees are.
I don't know, the shrubs along the property line are starting to sound reasonable.
The practical
given-
solution.
Yeah, better than nothing.
You know, how many of those shrubs you think you want to put in?
6?
6? That would work.
It's up to you.
What kind of shrubs?
Yeah, that would be next.
What's allowed?
We're picky, we're picky.
No forsythia, no rose of Sharon.
You could do blueberry bushes,
Blueberry
mountain
bushes
laurel,
it is.
mountain laurel.
Yep.
That's blueberry bushes?
Yeah, high bush, not low bush.
High bush
Yes,
blueberries.
high bush blueberry bushes, and we'll put that on the determination that, negative determination, negative is good,
Okay.
with the condition that you plant 6 high bush blueberry bushes along with the fence line there.
Okay.
And not ones this high when you start,
So what is a good?
3 gallon.
3 gallon.
Okay. Do I get a letter back on this?
You will.
Okay.
You will.
And that'll explain that?
Yep.
The only other thing is time frame that you'd do the work in. You
Yeah, he
probably
was,
want
I was waiting for approval
Yep.
to get him lined up. We were hoping this fall, if that's
to. Yep.
good for you guys. And I've used him before. He's very, very efficient, cleans up well, comes in, goes out. He's really good, so.
Okay, make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Make a motion to issue a negative determination, subject to planting 6 3-gallon blueberry bushes along the fence line.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Just want to tell you the permit, we have 21 days to issue the permit, so as soon as we can get it together, you'll get it in the mail,
Okay.
and then you'll be able to do your work. It'll have the time frames on it.
So I could really schedule him out 21 days. And that would
You
be,
could, yep.
okay.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
You sign things here?
Yeah, they just need, yeah, if you can sign that. There's really no plan, it was hand drawing, so. You sign the form and then we'll follow that. Now, what happened to the, over there? It's a long walk.
Pile them up there for you.
Yeah, okay.
No plan, nothing to sign, other than that.
Yeah, what is with those hemlock trees? Is it some sort of?
It's a little bug called the woolly adelgid, and they bore in and they kill it, and they you know, the white film on the needles, have you seen that?
Yeah, yeah.
That's their eggs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They blew across in a hurricane from Long Island 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Straight from Yankee Stadium.
No.
Okay.
On to the 5.5 Sunrise Drive. We haven't got a letter yet.
No, I recommend taking that one
I was
right
going to say,
off.
let's take that
Yeah,
off until
Yeah,
we get a letter.
that's not our problem.
Same thing for the 87 Duval Road.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we haven't received a letter on that yet. Unless I received the letter, right?
Yep.
Let's see, the letter went to 198 Manchug Road. Jason and I were talking about that the other day. What, I don't remember what's going on with this one.
Well, there was one,
The issue was that I went and did an inspection with Joyce, found that their erosion controls had fallen down or were otherwise in disrepair. Some sediment had gone past it, so we sent a letter. Actually, I sent Mr. Steele an email asking him to refresh the erosion controls, and he said, yep, no problem. He'd have it done that weekend. Well, technically he did, but he didn't do a very good job. He didn't tow in the silt fence. He had basically just folded the silt fence and put rocks on top of it,
Yep.
which was still not adequate, so Did you send a second letter out? Or,
I did.
okay,
Well, yeah, I sent 2 letters out.
And the second letter said,
I don't have it with me.
I tell you what, Mr. Chairman,
There's a return of.
I will contact Mr. Steele again by email. I've been having good luck. Ask him to correct the situation, myself.
And on the, is it 192 with Porter Stevens?
Yeah, I recommend that he file it for a certificate of compliance, because he's done everything he's been asked to do.
get it closed out.
Yeah,
He
and
cleaned
the-
out the,
Catch basin there.
Cleaned out the little drop basin that he created, and everything else is in place and stable and looking good.
But he's got to file for it.
Right. One thing I'd like to bring up today.
Yep.
We have time. How much time do we have?
3 or 4 minutes.
Okay, I can do this. Well,
Oh, we got a lot more than that, because they're just withdrawing.
right. Yeah, we got till like
Yeah,
7:50
you've
now.
got 50.
Okay. I think this was last year. 360R. 360R. No, that's this year.
Which one?
360R.
Oh, yeah, that was Boston Road.
There we go. Okay. So I did pre-construction meeting today. So, yeah, mark that down. Okay, so... In Margaret Washburn, Margaret Bacon and Mike Yerke are going to be in for 28 Wheelock. I met
Yep.
them on site here. There's a couple of requests for minor field changes, and they're actually, one of them is good. Okay, so now they were going to be doing work down in this little area right here. The
Is 28 Wheelock?
no, 28 Wheelock. They will be here for 28 Wheelock, but this is 360R Boston Road.
Okay.
Okay, septic system going up here on the left side of the house. But there's going to be some work down here. That was going to require cutting of other trees, but now they don't have to do. They were going to put. I said they're going to put the septic tanks down in here. Now the septic tank's going to go up in this little nook up here. So they don't have to go down in here and potentially cut any more trees. This tree right here has already come down. They know that they have to replace it. Okay, so I think that by moving the tank from over here to up here, it's even further away from the lake, and it doesn't cause any more disturbance, so I would recommend approving that. There's a minor field change, so that's that one. Any questions on that?
They already had permission to take the tree down, or it's
Yes.
non-jurisdictional?
No, they
Yes.
already have
Okay, yep.
permission.
We
Okay.
did that last spring they came in, yeah.
I don't have that good a memory.
This is the same, yeah. So the tanks are now going to be in this area.
Yep.
And the leach field is going to be over here. All right.
Where's the lake? Is it?
It's, yeah,
Okay.
behind
It's on
you.
the south side, yeah.
Yeah. So then you walk down these steps, and there's the boathouse is the one with a tree in it. Okay.
Now I know where we are.
Right. So the other part of this is that they're going to be doing some in-kind repair of the retaining wall on the lake, which is fine. But then I was told that it's time for this to come down and be replaced. So the owner was asking me, well, what's the rule on that? And I said, well, there's an in-kind repair, replace exemption. However, I'm sure the Conservation Commission is going to be wanting to know, how are you going to prevent debris from going into the lake? And when you rebuild, what are you going to be doing for foundation? Is you're gonna be using the same substrate, you're gonna have to regrade it, are you gonna be bringing in concrete, cement, all these questions I think that they're gonna be asking about. And how are you gonna get it out of there to begin with? And that's when I looked up the hill. Behind the shed in this picture, it's wooded. Okay, I don't know if I got any other pictures that are better than that. Oh, okay, here we go. It's wooded right here. And look at that. So I said, I don't remember this. And she said, well, the tree guy said he could come down like the next day and do the clearing for everything she needed to do. And she said, well, I need this done as well. So he did it. And I said, I had to tell her that that was not allowed without explicit authorization, because it was never allowed. She said, just for taking down some small trees and shrubs. I said, yes. Unfortunately, but yes. Because that's where the machine's going to come down to take care of
Do the demolition.
do the demolition and then pull it back up the hill. So I said,
So
well,
you got that question answered.
yeah.
What
Right.
what bylaw is this against? Because isn't there a certain size that's
No,
not?
it's this falls under the category of alteration within jurisdictional area, and under the definition of alteration is destruction of vegetation.
We had you in on that.
I'm just trying to learn. What's that?
We had you in on that. In another life.
Yeah, another life, yeah.
And if they continue with the demolition of the, the boathouse and they, don't put up, I don't know what to do for erosion controls, but obviously they'd have to do it in the dry when the lake is down and all that. But I said, this sounds like you're gonna have, this is no
repairing
longer
kind.
an exempt
That's not repairing kind.
repairing kind.
Yeah, to me, you need to file another.
Well, here's the question. And before I left, everyone agreed, and Margaret and Mike Yurka were there, and along with the owner, and everybody agreed, yes, that this is no longer exempt.
Yeah.
The question is, do we have to do a new filing, or can we request an amendment to the existing order? Because there's an open order of conditions. And I think about it, correct me if I'm wrong, but because it's still an open order, you could possibly ask for a formal amendment, re-notify the abutters, put a new legal ad in the newspaper, have another hearing on the existing order, and then add to it.
The existing order was to repair the dock or something like that?
No.
Was to
Septic.
replace the septic system, or the cesspool, and to do in-kind repair to the wall down at the
Wall,
lake.
yeah.
So, I think that it can be done by an amendment. I mean, for example, Pleasant Valley Crossing done a lot more under an amendment than this would be. The question, one of the questions would be, review monies for myself
Sure.
to be added, but I think it still could be done under an amendment. But an amendment, I think, is needed. I don't think that this is a minor field change at this point.
I agree, it's a field change, they will need a building permit and everything else to go with it.
Yeah.
And what are they building there? Are they building a boathouse, or are they building a breezeway, a summer retreat, a guest house?
Right. According to the owner, it's still gonna be a boathouse, it's gonna be on the same footprint, it's just gonna look a little different.
Tree's gonna be gone inside it.
Yes, gotta rip it out.
It's a landmark.
And they have to replace that tree in the same place?
Don't have to replace dead trees.
Maybe the habitat.
It's habitat, that's right.
Shouldn't it be?
At this point, that entire
Undercover.
building's habitat.
That's right.
After our past experiences with things designed by others, I get a little nervous about when we don't know exactly what's going to take place. So if they come in under an amendment and explain exactly what they intend to do,
I think they need drawings.
Yeah, they're gonna have.
They're gonna need they're gonna need
Yeah.
drawings.
They'll get a permit for
And I said that in front of Mike and Margaret. Everybody agreed, yes, just do we need to do a new NOI? Can we do it under an amendment?
I have no problem doing it under an amendment.
Okay.
Fine with amendment.
All right.
Yeah, fine. Full set of drawings,
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah, sounds good
It's
to
gotta be
me.
well documented.
I'll forward that information to Mike and Margaret. And is there anything else I can think of off the top of my head?
I've got a new request from Tim Morse, he wants to know about. I'll read it. It's from Tim Morse. He's formally requesting from the Sutton Conservation Commission to provide in writing the adopted rule, bylaw, or standard that states that in addition to the 25-foot no-go zone for building, that there is an additional 10-foot buffer zone around the 25-foot no-go zone. I'd like to know where this additional 10-foot buffer zone verbiage is stated. Tim Morse.
It is not
It's
stated.
not. It's work
common
within the
sense.
buffer zone.
It's common sense, and it falls under the ability and of the conservation to control activities within jurisdictional areas in a way that helps to prevent adverse impact on the resource areas. So there's a word or phrase in the bylaw called controlling authority, and
It's right here.
controlling. To regulate or govern by law, in this case, for the Conservation Commission to carry out all the different laws and the bylaws. So, the commission has the ability to control work and activities. So this would be under that authority. There's nothing that says that this is the way it has to be. This is the way I originally recommended it. The commission can use it or throw it out, but that's my recommended thought process as far as, I explained this before. You can't have the foundation right at the edge of the no-touch, because then you'll have a tree growing up the edge of the foundation, right next to the foundation. And then you're going to want to cut the tree that's in the no-touch zone, and that completely, what's the point of having a no-touch zone?
Do we anticipate Mr. Morse coming in tonight?
The Margaret and Mike are going to be in. They already gave me a briefing on it, which should probably wait.
Okay, well, then my reason, we might want to, if he is in here, just explain that to him again.
Could you do the withdrawal for 263 Purgatory Road? 'Cause that was a 7:35.
Right, so 263 Purgatory Road, I think because of my review and finding the additional wetlands, that's not going to work out. So the withdrawing without prejudice. I recommend the withdrawal without prejudice, and that'll be that. It'll be done.
That's when you can make a motion to.
Make a motion to-
not read it.
To waive the reading of 263 Purgatory Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Do we have to close the public hearing?
I don't know.
I would think we would have to.
I think so.
Make a motion to close the public hearing of 263 Purgatory Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, the applicant has asked for a withdrawal on this project. I don't know if we have to do anything other than that. Or we have to vote
Make a
to accept
motion.
it.
You make a motion
Make
to
it
withdraw without prejudice.
prejudice.
As versus with prejudice, which
Yep.
is usually the segue into an enforcement order. So,
Make a mo- Okay.
For the record.
Make a motion to withdraw 263 Purgatory Road without prejudice.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So is that a 5 or a 4? It's gonna be a 4, right? 4-0.
5.
He wasn't there at the beginning of any of
Starting
this.
to feel left out.
yeah, but
Yeah.
not for long.
This is a new,
Yeah, this is all-
this is
New
a
request.
new request for withdrawal. He was present, he sat right there through the whole thing.
I don't know if he was there at the very beginning, but,
With the withdrawal, he was.
yeah.
So the
Well,
motion was
I think
withdrawal, so he
the
can vote
question,
on it.
Bob, is that, was he here when the
Right.
public
hearing
hearing
started.
started? Was he a commissioner when the public
Yeah,
hearing
but
started?
isn't he voting on the withdrawal motion?
Well,
he's voting on the whole
this
thing.
has a correlate to the police station tonight. He's been here for all but one hearing, meeting, which he wasn't a member. And the answer that's come from town council is that Mr. DeWolf cannot vote because he was not a commissioner when the public hearing began.
So when was the first hearing on this?
Same time as your 489 police station.
Well, you can't
Same,
So
vote.
you can't vote.
same date,
Yeah.
July
I-
19th.
I want to put it on the record that I still don't agree with it,
No.
but
Doesn't make any
Doesn't
difference.
make any
to me.
difference.
Yeah,
no.
comes from town council.
And the MACC,
MACC also sent that today.
yeah.
I sent it to everybody that they agree with town council.
no kidding.
Yep.
Okay.
So
And
what
that
happens
was
if we have
Hotline.
something that is real old before any of us were here?
We've done a lot of that.
Yeah, because
We have done a lot of that.
Problem.
when the three of you came on, I mean, how many did we go through that you weren't involved with from the beginning? And that would have meant only two could vote, and that's not a quorum.
No, we did have 3 in the beginning,
You did have three?
yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
because the 2 of them came on, and then Bill came in afterwards.
Yeah, I can't remember that now.
So that's why they had to reappoint me, because otherwise everyone would have had to refile all over again.
So what happens if this, well, anything that Andy wasn't here for from the start now can't.
You can't vote on.
it.
And
So what happens
technically,
if
you
we
shouldn't
don't have
even
a
be.
quorum going forward?
Should I,
You
yeah,
have to refile.
will you tell me if I should recuse and sit in the audience? Because I don't.
Yeah, well, for the police station, I recommend that.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, it's probably
Just got to remember any others.
Um,
I doubt there's going to be any
It'll
complaints.
catch up after a month or two.
So Joyce was saying, just while we have 30 seconds here, if we can't get a quorum, someone have to refile everything, like start over?
Who pays for that?
They do.
They
Applicant.
probably wouldn't have to pay fees again, but just to start over with, like advertising and stuff, because of due to no quorum.
Mm-hmm.
Or some of it can be continued to the next meeting.
I'll be right
When
back.
there is a quorum, unless, like you said, if somebody wasn't here. That makes it difficult. Okay, so this one's okay. And we have 750. The discussion was just put in there, and that's what we've been doing. So now we have,
A minute.
I'm gonna pass this down. Andy, pass it down. There's a plan in there sticking out of the side. I'm not sure if it's the most recent one or if they have another one. I don't know where it was. Brandon. Take a minute.
It's the same date and no revisions on it, so don't mention there's anything different.
Okay. Yeah.
750, 28 Wheelock Road.
Make a motion to waive the reading of 28 Wheelock Road.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Why don't we start with the letter from Tim asking what the, and I'll read it at the meeting. It says, "I'm formally requesting from the Sutton Conservation Commission to produce in writing the adopted rule, bylaw, or standard that states that in addition to the 25-foot no-go zone for building, that there is an additional 10-foot buffer zone around the 25-foot no-go zone. I would like to know where this additional 10-foot buffer zone verbiage is stated." Thank you, Tim.
The answer, Mr. Chairman, is that there is not a specific regulation or part of the bylaw that says thou shalt keep foundation 10 feet away from the no-touch zone minimum. But it does fall within the commission's general authority to control activities within jurisdictional areas in order to assure that the work or activities that do occur do not have adverse impact on those resource areas and therefore protect the public interests.
Does that answer your question, Tim?
It does. It begs the question why you don't make the no-go zone 35 feet then? Because then you could put the foundation in the at the 35-foot zone, or?
Well, you're asking us specific about a foundation, and really the 25-foot no-go zone is just that. We don't want you to go there, but because you're looking to put the foundation there, it would be impossible for you to do any work around your building without some additional protection. That's where that's coming from.
Right. And
So it's not like we're going to say, we'd have the same problem if we said it was 35 feet and then somebody wanted to build right hard on that.
Right.
You still can't practically have a functioning house if you did that, because you're going to be going in that area. That's, I believe, the answer to your question. Yep. And thank you.
For the record, Mike Yerka, Civil Site Engineering, representing Timothy Morse. This is a continuation of the other meetings we had. Last time we were here, we had the foundation up against the 25-footer. The board asked for a 10-foot offset from that, which
Mike,
you just, yes?
excuse me, is that a new set of plans?
It is. It's just the foundation that we're presenting tonight. This is not the final plan, so we'll get.
Okay, so the plans I'm looking at are no good.
Yeah. Why don't you,
No, that's all right. As long as I understand. I was studying these
I-
plans and I looked up and saw something completely different. So
It is. It's
I asked the
different.
same thing when we were at the pre-construction meeting, Bob. I said, "You're coming in tonight, do you have new plans? Because I haven't seen anything, not even a PDF." And Mike's answer was, "Well, we're just pretty much running something by the commission to see
Right.
what your ideas are."
We just got some new information from the town building inspector. Just came in writing. And what we did, we scrambled, and this here is, we took the house, we twisted it 2436, and the letter we had just from the building inspector is stated that we can be closer to the property line, saying it was a pre-existing non-conforming lot. So the sideline setback, we didn't have to adhere to the 20 feet. So what we did is we twisted it the best we could. This yellow line represents the 35 feet. So as you can see in this foundation, we're 10 feet here, more on this corner here than 10. And this little corner here, we're about, it's about 7 feet from the 25-foot setback. That's the closest point, this little triangle.
So you got 7 feet instead of 10 in that corner.
Yeah, 7 instead of 10 at this corner here. Anything else is 10 or greater.
I think that's interesting about the zoning setbacks, because
That's not us.
Yeah, well, actually, kind of is, because it goes towards the impact avoidance and minimization statement, and one of the questions is asked in the questionnaire, so to speak, that we send out, is in order to minimize or avoid impacts, could you get any kind of a variance from zoning on setbacks in order to keep farther away from the wetlands. And we mentioned that at the, one of the last meetings, and I think Mike took it to heart. And I'm very interested.
Client, Also,
Okay.
Yep.
I'm very interested because, explain to me how this happened. Did you get a variance from zoning?
No.
So how did that work?
Well, it's not written in stone yet, but we have a letter that states that this lot was pre-existing any zoning. And this lot has been probably 100 years, that little farm piece there. So, with the building inspectors, what his thought was and is, under chapter 61, we have the letter, I can give it to you. Is the fact that when we construct, the zoning that you have to go by would be the zoning at the time of this creation, which was no zoning. So it's his opinion that the 20-foot from the property line on the sideline, you didn't have to hold that, which opened up this bit of area over here.
All right, so because there was no zoning at the time this lot was created,
Well, created, yeah, it was probably back at the turn of the
when was
century.
zoning created in Sutton?
It had to be in the 50s, probably middle 50s, late 50s.
Okay.
See if I have.
So you're saying that,
It was created
according,
well before that. yeah.
according to this current opinion,
Yes.
if the Conservation Commission has a project that comes before them in which it's a old lot that was created before zoning,
Pre-existing non-conforming.
and they say, well, we can't go any closer to the road or the sideline because of the zoning setbacks, we can say, Mike Yurka,
Don't, not me.
we don't have to worry about it because this lot was created before zoning, and you can push it right up wherever.
According to the building inspector, not according to me.
Interesting.
What constitutes a pre-existing lot?
Pre-existing that this lot, it was part, from what it's part of it was part of the whole farm. But like I say, it was on this side of the road, so it was a parcel, I shouldn't say lot, as a parcel of land, it stood by itself for, say, 75, 100 years. That's what makes it a pre-existing, non-conforming parcel.
Where do you
or
get
lot.
non-conforming? Just pre-existing, or an
No,
existing?
because see, the non-conforming is the 60%.
Right, we did go through that.
60% upland
Yeah.
requirement,
Yeah, and doesn't meet this, not even
Right.
close.
that's right.
Right.
So that's where the pre-existing came in the first place. And then you just pushed it out more. Now, I'm not saying this is written in stone, but we have the letter, so we're gonna look into it a little bit more. I'm not gonna push the issue unless the board has no problem with just instead of a 10-foot area here, this little triangle, it's about 6 feet to the closest, 25 foot. Scale.
6, 7, we're not
Close
gonna-
enough.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know.
or 5 or 4.
Yeah, you know, on this scale, it's approximately 6.
I just wanted to see you pull out the engineering ruler.
See if you had it.
See if you had it, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
But anyway, that's why we didn't want to put this off again and then come back the next time. And this was the holdup from the last
Yeah.
meeting. Everything else, we've taken care of. We're keeping everything else out of that 35 foot. So what we would like to do, if the board doesn't have a problem with this, we'd like to continue this meeting because we had to move the septic a little bit, so we still have to go in front of the Board of Health for that. So I wouldn't want to close this if I have to tweak anything for the septic, it'd be new info and but we would like a basic consensus on this.
Got to fit it in with a shoehorn, but with the exception of that,
We're doing a lot of shoehorning. and
yeah,
stuff.
with the exception of that 6-foot zone, it technically meets the very minimum of what the commission's been asking for, and they're providing the restoration
Yes, that's
down
right.
there to make up for the loss of the grassland habitat within 100 feet. So I think that the way this is going is if you can approve the 6-foot offset and this opinion by the building inspector.
That's right. It's not written in stone.
Holds,
Yeah, that's, if it
then,
changes, the
then
plan
it's
changes.
really just a matter of talking about that 6-foot.
6 foot, Andy?
Sounds good to me, but now this letter is making more sense, because if there's nothing, so that 10-foot recommended is for maintenance, so,
Long-term,
Long-term maintenance.
initial construction and long-term maintenance.
so this gentleman wrote a letter of why this isn't in here, and he's trying to push it down to 6 feet. So in the future, maybe there should be some literature that said we recommend a 10-foot buffer for maintenance reasons.
I think it's
And
a
then they-
case by case, and I'm
Case,
sorry to
yeah.
butt in.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Because it's,
It just makes sense why he,
Yeah,
you know what I
oh,
mean,
yeah, no,
we're
it's-
questioning
He's got
the.
a question, he's got a right to
Right.
ask it, no problem.
Same thing where I was asking for a 5-foot grass strip on the side of a new driveway next to the 25-foot.
6 feet makes sense to me, you could fit a small machine in 6 feet.
I think they worked hard in I'm fine with 6 feet. It's the only spot at 6 feet.
On the plan that isn't the plan now, there was a deck in the back. Is it
It
still there?
is. Yep.
Because we
An
can't.
overhang, right here. It overhangs the 35 feet, but it's a deck, it's only on piers.
So does that make it closer to the wetland?
It's on pier, it's not, it's still outside your 25, and there's really no maintenance there. Under a deck, it's probably gonna have just crushed stone. Most decks just have crushed stone underneath them.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
think that's
Yeah.
fine. It's a foundation you can't get around.
Right. That's open, that deck is open, yes.
Let's do that.
Just to go back to the pre-existing, I'm curious
Yeah.
about pre-existing. So what that actually means is the lot lines had been that way since they were originally laid out, or what constitute, I'm just
Yes,
curious.
this was well, if it's,
original-
say it's a 100-acre farm, okay? Back in the day, it's a 100-acre farm. It included across the street. So what happens is, the street is here, so this piece on this side, this lot or parcel has been in existence by itself. This farm didn't own any more here, you know. it
With
was
those
all
property
owned.
lines, with those property lines. In other
That's
words,
right.
Property lines haven't been changed
have not
in
been changed.
near
That's correct,
future, or
been
near
there
past, or whatever you
forever.
call it.
forever.
Right.
And so what happens is, with the building inspector explained, and we're gonna get some other information on that, is that a pre-existing non-conforming lot, this lot was contained in itself with no, you know, they didn't sell any other pieces on it.
Okay, no,
That
it's
was
just,
it.
I didn't understand the definition.
Prior to zoning, so what the rule says is that it refers back to the zoning at the time this was created, which there was no zoning.
Okay.
So he says there's no zoning offsets. Say if this was created in, say, 1970, okay, they cut a few pieces off here and they let that at 1970, it wouldn't be pre-existing, you see? Or any lot that is pre-existing, say it was cut in like 62 or 63, where that zoning was okay and nobody did anything, then you'd have to resort to a zoning setback at that time when it was created, so.
When was it split off from the farm?
Probably, it's probably already been, always been there, whenever Wheelock Road.
Yeah, but I mean, wasn't it included with the farm on the same deed?
The owner
That's
could
correct.
change. But
I
that-
know,
The
but
owner
recently,
changed,
right?
But the
road was there. It
the
was
property
probably,
lines
I
didn't
was-
change, and
Yeah.
the road was half the property line at one time, and you
Yeah,
got the other
half
ones.
to the center, back in the day.
Is that a garage under, Mike?
No, we're not, no garage, not doing any garage. It's gonna come right straight in. We made a turnaround here, we'll probably edit that turnaround a little bit. and back
Say
that
that all
out.
the lots around the
I
lake,
got a question.
No garage.
existing, non-conforming.
Seeing how tight it is, does the commission feels comfortable with signs or something a little more robust? Signs only for the,
Yeah, so he's got signs shown, or we had
are you
requested signs.
okay with just signs, or would you look for something like a fence or boulders, whatever?
All that comes down too easy.
just to make a point, that's a stone wall there, so it's already a naturally occurring property line on this side here.
Well, stone wall's a good idea, but those are expensive.
It's already
It's
there.
there,
It's
one
already
part of it. So when do you think would be ready, Mike?
Well, I'd hate to say 2 weeks, because like I said, with the Board of Health,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna get through that.
So a month?
I would say a month.
October 18th,
Pardon?
October 18th.
I would say yes, and that would give us time to get the total updated plan to Brandon prior, and the board prior to that meeting, by a
Basically,
week
yeah.
or so.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Make a motion to continue to October 18th, 2017 at
7:05 PM.
7:05 PM.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for your time.
Just learned something new. New to me. Pre-existing lot. Zoning is very interesting.
Does that mean all the ones around the lake?
Farm was created in
That's what I was gonna say.
1873.
It's a good question. It
Can
could
of
be a
worms, can of worms.
It sounds like a big can of worms to me.
Careful what you wish for. 489 Central Turnpike, Town of Sutton Police Department.
Make a motion to waive the reading of 489 Central Turnpike.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna recuse myself from this.
Welcome.
Good evening.
There's another one
Is there another one over there?
next to the door, right? Yeah.
Brandon, you gonna be using this, you think?
Maybe, because we have some draft order of conditions. I made a draft that, I don't know, there might be some questions and concerns.
Going blind over there?
Is it in your way?
No, it just feels awkward sitting off to the side, but that's all right.
I mean, you can sit in front of it if you want the light in your face.
It's okay. Moving right along.
Up to you.
Moving right along.
They usually would use the TV, but because of the way over there, that's why they decided to use the screen.
Plan sets do that.
Oh, I know what I want to do.
Which ones?
The ones,
There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should I wait for Wanda?
Where'd you go?
I don't know.
Go ahead. Jeff Howland, JH Engineering, representing the town of Sutton at 489 Central Turnpike for the Sutton Police Station. We have revised the plan from the previous Conservation Commission meeting and Planning Board hearing. You should have 2 letters that have been provided to you since the last meeting. The first one is dated September 13th, and the second one is, which would have been sent to Wanda directly. And then the second one is dated today, September 20th, based upon comments received from the town planner on Monday. So we have made significant changes, or basically modifications to the drawings, that the overall site plan itself really hasn't changed much, other than biggest issues that have changed. And I'm going to sort of paraphrase from both the September 13th and the September 20th letter, the changes from the last meeting. The biggest changes is in the rear, where the carport has been moved from the north side of the south parking lot to the south side. The dumpster location has moved from the far southeastern corner toward the middle of this parking area, and actually eliminated a space, parking space in here, to allow for a larger swing for vehicles, even though the fire chief had previously reviewed the previous plan with the dumpster here and felt that he had adequate access. We didn't move it to this location. We have widened, by eliminating the carport here, we were able to move this over and eliminate or provide a little bit more space to come in to this, the sally port here. And by doing that, this actual whole entire drainage in the rear of the building has been revised to reflect losing the area in here to lose grade. The roof drains have all now been collected separately and will bypass the storm scepter, which is here. So they all come out and come around into a manhole that's been added at this location. The storm scepter is here, so they all get rerouted around the building. They come in this way, come over, the system comes in here, so we've done that. We've looked at providing recharge on the roof drains up here for the front, but due to the separation distance from the well, separation distance from the foundation, the separation distance from the septic, which basically eliminates anything in the rear, because not only do we have a septic here for on-site, we have the septic for the abutter here. With the 100-foot separation from the well, I believe it's 100 feet from septics, 20 feet from foundation wall, cannot be located in fill, has to be a minimum of 2 feet above groundwater. The only spot that potentially could go might be over in this location here, but due to the proposed grades, existing grades, and the elevation of the groundwater, cannot get a pipe from here to here that would still be above the 2 feet below groundwater. But based on the ice separation distance, that would be the only site that's feasible on site. The soils in this location of the site are worse than the ones that are back here. These are tight glacial tills here where we have more of a sandy area back here, hence why the septic is here. The flared end section for FES1, which is back here, has been located outside the wetlands, which I believe in the last set, I think it was, but if it was, it has definitely been moved out. This one, we've looked at moving it outside the wetlands. We are putting that flared end section on the same location, exact same location as the existing flared end section. There is still a question in Mass Highway's eyes if they actually own it or not. They're making the assumption that they do. We're making the assumption that they do at this point, but they're not sure legally if they do. But that flared end section is the exact same location as the current flared end section, with no protection at all. So what we're doing is we're putting it in the same location and now providing scour protection, which it currently does not. And there is scour at the outlet end of that pipe.
Jeff?
Yep.
I don't know if you want to interrupt as we go along.
Yep, that's fine.
Now, Graves indicated that they felt that could be moved back 6 feet. without-
Potentially moved back 6 feet, but by moving it back 6 feet, they also felt that it may actually have more detriment to the wetlands because it's going to require more grading in here around the wetlands.
Well, you're tearing it all up anyhow to put the pipe in the ground, so I don't know why you're gonna say you're gonna tear up the wetlands to put the pipe in the ground in that area anyhow, so the whole area's gonna be disturbed by 50 feet, so I mean, it's not a good point. You can't put the pipe in the ground without digging it up and disturbing the ground, so.
That's correct. That's
So
correct.
it's gonna be
That's
disturbed
correct.
either way, so saying that it's gonna disturb the ground by moving it back is
He
not.
felt that actually laterally, it would also, because of the depth, because it's going to require a swale to be excavated in this location, and he felt that it would actually have a detriment to this and felt that the existing location was the most appropriate location.
It's not quite the way I read it, but that's all right.
But-
If you move it back you're gonna have to cut into the hill to keep the same elevation.
That's correct.
So does that mean you have to build a retaining wall? on either
Potentially.
Potentially on either
Potentially,
side?
or a head wall.
And you're cutting it back into the hill by less than a foot grade, so it's not a wall that you're talking about. The grades are relatively flat in that area.
That's one of the, when I briefed the commission, I brought that up, and my comment was that I was originally thinking that was a new discharge, but you corrected me.
That is correct.
So it kind of changes the thought process, and I said that, well, okay, so having the discharge there, keeping it there is good, and is okay regulatorily, and putting in the riprap is a good thing in order to prevent scouring. However, there's a possibility that this could be moved back closer to the driveway by, I think I said up to 10 feet, but Jeff Walsh said 6 feet. And my comment was that, well, that's up to you. That's the commission's discretion.
I'm just saying, it's the town's
Right.
engineer's recommendation that it be moved back, so I just was pointing that out.
The landscaping plan has been revised such that all of the species within 100 feet are now native. And we have added 5 trees in this location within the buffer zone to replace. Originally, I think at the last hearing, I said there was 5 trees in this location that had to be removed within the buffer, or that 25-foot buffer. There's actually 4. One of them is dead. But at the time, I told the landscape architect that I thought there was 5. She put 5. So we're staying with the 5, even though there's 4. Originally, the trees that were thought to be within the buffer are actually on the abutter's property, not on our property.
Do you have a list of the new species?
Yes. Just the ones, those 5?
No, I looked at the list and I'm saying, wait a minute, these aren't native species, and so I was the one that pointed that out probably. So I just wanted to make sure that those are native species.
Well, the question is that it's for the entire property. So
Yeah.
there are probably going to be some
Some outside.
non-natives that are outside.
Yeah.
The question is, are they going to be limited to only planting natives within 100 feet? And that's what they're saying. They didn't go into detail every single
Yeah.
flower bed. I'm personally okay with it. There'll be inspections, so.
If I could, Art Allen from Ecotech, we're talking about the 5 replanted in the buffer.
Correct.
Those are Quercus bicolor, the small.
Yeah,
small
that's
flowers.
fine. It was all the other landscaping that Joyce had questions about within 100 feet, because if you look at the planting schedule, it's for the entire property, and some of them are not native, but Jeff is stating that anything that's within 100 feet is going to be native. Once you're at 100 feet, that's out of the commission's reach.
Right, so there were 3 magnolias that were here. They have been removed for a different reason, but those have been removed. And then, yes, these were added. Those are swamp white oaks. Then there's a wildflower mix all along the slope. That's a serviceberry, and then there's just some shrubs around the building itself. We have increased the pipe size to 24-inch,
Are we,
Mass Highway stuff.
will we be coming back to landscaping, or are we,
I can stay here if you'd like, that's fine.
I would like you to talk a little bit about the ground cover that you're putting on the one-to-one slopes, and how that will be, maintained and so forth.
So the ground slope here is a juniper, a ground cover juniper, and she actually provided plans and details to the planning department that shows that those are a common species along those slopes.
Yeah. Especially in drier areas.
Correct, which is I would assume be fairly dry.
Are we doing the same thing on the other slope?
So we're doing it right along here, which is the 2-to-1 slope, which is that landscape plan is being done right now. So just this spot right in here, these are 3-to-1 over in here. So it's just the area in here, and it's really so that we can get the grading around the pump house. But that is being done and being reviewed by the town planner. We have submitted the hydrology to Graves, which included the off-site that went around, and they find that the hydrology is acceptable. We did take into account the off-site to see what comes through here, and so that has been included in the hydrology calcs. And they had no further comments on any of the drainage or the site plan itself. We have added, done with the landscape?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've added the hay bales and straw wattles around.
No hay bales.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right, straw wattles and silt fence. There is no safe hay bales on this site.
Right.
I went over that, and what he knows now is 12-inch diameter, which, did you make that change?
12-inch and 100% biodegradable.
Yep,
No
good.
plastic on it, yeah.
That's correct. And it's listed actually on the detail and in the spec has been, technical spec has been changed. Actually, I think the technical spec had a 9 originally, but that's been
Which
changed
has
as well.
been like standard.
Yep, so that's been changed in the technical spec and the note on the drawing. We've added the straw wattles and silt fence around the area that's to be of the pipe to be removed from the wetland. So that's been added. And then we have a 25-foot buffer around, line around. The final plan will actually show this a little bit bolder, printed as yellow, didn't show up very well.
Which is going to be the permanent limited disturbance.
That'll be the permanent limited disturbance, and then there's a note that the town will provide the sign and the post, which will be installed by the contractor, and I believe there's a total of 12 of them. And where they're every 50 feet or at breaks. So a couple of them are shorter than 50 feet.
I'm going to stop you there.
Yep.
I was going to wait, but this is a good spot. So there's going to be the temporary limited disturbance, which is basically right at the wetland boundary, and then coming over here where you're going to take out that culvert, right?
Correct.
You're going to be doing a whole bunch of grading in here, and then once you've done the work with the grading, this discharge, this FES down here, and this, then you're going to plant the 5 trees. You're going to seed the rest of it between the permanent limited disturbance and the wetland boundary, and then you're going to let it just grow up and no more activity unless...
That's correct.
I just want to make sure that everyone has that understanding, that once that grading and work has been done within 25 feet and within the wetland in those couple spots, that once that's done, the understanding is that 25-foot zone becomes the no-go zone. Okay, unless you're going to be doing maintenance to the stormwater discharge, which I think I didn't put in the draft order of conditions, but I should mention it.
But that's exact my understanding also.
Okay.
And I did add to the September 20th letter that this site is also subject to an MPDS permit. So there's additional controls that we placed on just because of the EPA MPDS general construction permit.
Has that been secured yet?
I'm sorry?
Has that been secured yet?
No, because we don't have a contractor, so it can't be done until a general contractor is selected. So that will be done prior to start construction. The specs have the site contractor's responsible to prepare the SWIP. We'll do the notice of intent filing, but we can't do that until we know who the general is. Because they'll be the ultimate responsible.
That generally takes, what, 6 weeks review?
For me?
No, for the state.
For the state, well, the general permit is just you file online to EPA.
It's only 7 days, 7
Yeah.
days.
It's
7
not-
days for that, but the SWIP is longer, isn't it?
SWIP
7
is,
days for the NOI to be acknowledged by EPA.
Yeah.
right, the SWIP is not approved by anybody. That just gets submitted.
It's part of the NOI.
It's part of the, well, no, it does not. The general permit has standard stuff in it, but the overall SWIP itself just gets put in the trail, and we can provide a copy to you if needed. That's fine.
Okay.
Usually goes to
A
you.
little
I think it
rusty.
goes-
You're a little rusty. Yeah. Okay.
When the online stuff came on, now it's just a standard form. You submit it,
Yeah.
then you're covered, and the actual SWIP gets placed in the trailer and on site. And
For us novices, What's SWIP?
Stormwater pollution prevention plan, which is actually above and beyond what normal sediment erosion control is. It adds additional things that the contractor is obligated to do, including doing site visits and the reporting requirements.
There's a threshold. Whenever you disturb an acre or more of land, you have to produce one of these SWIPs and submit a notice of intent to EPA for how are you going to keep the site stable, and how are you going to keep the soil where it belongs. Yeah. And that's something that the commission has referenced in the order of conditions, which I don't believe I've done here in the draft yet. Also, the operations and maintenance plan usually gets referenced in the order of conditions as well.
Which I presented in the original drainage calcs and operations and maintenance, but then obviously the SWIP goes above and beyond that with additional requirements.
So if you have any updated O&M plans, let me know, submit it with a new revised date, because that usually gets put on as an attachment to the order. That makes sense to you?
Yep. We have revised the note concerning the existing building, or the demolished building, basically just put a generic note on there that the previous location of the building. We have retained the notes because it's still unclear and unknown if the well, the old public water supply well, still remains, as according to DEP and the Board of Health, it still exists, as does the existing septic. There has not been an abandonment plan with either of those, so we're assuming that those still are in place.
Right, because you're going to be, according to that plan, you're going to be removing.
That's correct. That's correct. And the public water supply well, which is right here, which was inside the building.
Putting the tanks in D-box.
Yep. The entire thing will be removed. It's all within the cuts and fills in this area. There was any major changes to the layout other than some of the parking in the rear. There was significant grading changes, I said, in the back with the elimination of the carport here and this island that was here. The entire back parking lot was regraded. All the drainage was redone, basically from here to here was all redone.
Is the island still there, Jeff?
There is an island at this point. It's there. I'm using it as a grade change.
Plow guy's gonna hate you.
I know that. But because of the 5% grade on this parking lot, in order to get the cross slope here, I need the island to go from 5% this way to the handicap going 5% this way, and I need the flat spot in here.
He's still gonna hate you.
I know that. I know. But also, the way it's graded now, originally, this side of the parking lot had a gutter line that ran down here to a catch basin that was out here. But because of the regrading of in order to meet handicap code, to get back into this door, this had to be pitched against the curb line, which me personally, I prefer, because puts this at a curb line versus out in the middle of the parking lot. So the plows will like me for that there versus out here, but. The holding tank. We're working with the Board of Health also on this. There's multiple jurisdictions or CMRs that reflect this. Depending on which code that you go by is depending on whether or not what the tank needs to be. The ultimate approving authority on this used to be DEP, which they've reverted that back to the local boards of health. We've forwarded the information to the Board of Health and are waiting of whether or not this needs to be whatever they approve. If the town, commission, Board of Health says that this should be a double wall tank, we'll provide a double wall tank. But we are looking, the Board of Health is the ultimate approving authority, and
Well-
they do have the information.
I kind of object to that. Because the holding tank is within 100 feet of the wetland, the commission has controlling authority over what gets built and how it gets built. So if the commission feels that a double-walled tank is necessary to protect the public interests, then it's necessary to protect the public interests. That's my opinion on the 310 CMR 10 and the bylaw.
Not going to argue that at all,
Mhm.
but the ultimate approving authority is still the Board of Health. They're the ones who have jurisdiction over the holding tank under Title V, because this falls under their jurisdiction.
Right, but I don't think that there's a, like an agreement, for example, in 310 CMR 10, there's a statement that if septic systems comply with Title V and they're at least 50 feet away from a wetland, then the conservation commissions are obligated to approve them. I don't know of any such rule with holding tanks.
Jeff McElravy with Tecton Architects, project manager. If the commission chooses that to require a double wall holding tank, we're happy to provide that. So we've already got a cut sheet on that product, so we're prepared to do that.
All right, then I'll be up to you.
Thank you.
There's been some comments or questions about some of the coordination between different trades, including the piping on the cisterns, the piping on the fuel tanks. And you can read it, it's comment number 6 and 7.
Yeah.
But basically, the file sub-bid for fire protection and plumbing has already been bid. So any potential changes to this, and it's already in their spec, the coordination of piping with each of these. They knew that the design of these were on steep slopes. They had our grading plan. Granted, it's been modified slightly, but they do have the grading plan, which basically shows the same general criteria. So in their specs, they said that the location would be coordinated in the field, the locations of the venting.
To be more specific, the manhole structure, the requirement is for them to coordinate between the grading plan and the top of the structure and provide a manhole of that depth. As far as the vent location, that's something that gets addressed during the coordination drawing period, where we can coordinate them to make sure that they're inboard of the curb lines and the roadways.
Just a comment, knowing that it's as severe a slope in a point of contention, I would say maybe a change order would be issued or an extra charge because it's in the neighborhood of 25 feet in some places.
About 15 feet,
15
actually, from the
feet.
top of the structure, 25 feet from the bottom.
I would say that was extraordinary and probably should be pointed out, but that's just a layperson saying, wow.
Yeah, I mean, the spec section specifically draws their attention to coordinating the manhole depth with the grading plan. So it
But
is
the
burden of
grading,
that.
unfortunately, the grading plan's not the same grading plan we've got now, because what they
That's
were
great.
looking at was a
Yeah, it is
different
very
drawing
similar.
altogether.
It is very similar. There's very little change actually in this area here. The only difference, the original plan actually had this pump house and a tank going in this direction, going, I guess, north to south versus east to west. And these tanks, were originally here, got moved to here in an addendum, and they showed these on those steep slopes. So they had the grading plan, or were basically, they were to refer to the grading plan for the grade. So these were known in the bid set for each of those disciplines.
And the gas tanks, how are they to be filled?
The propane tanks? Propane tanks do have their own individual manhole. We did have a conversation earlier today about the location of the slope. Jeff, you had a proposal for that?
Yes, what I'm going to do is, conferring with the plumbing engineer, I'm going to move these about 6 feet slightly changed the grades in here, which put these, all tops, 6 of the, 5 tops, basically on level ground. So the slopes would be up above it by moving these a little bit to the south, about 5-6 feet. Puts the middle of the tank right at the bottom of that slope.
Does that make that slope even steeper, Jeff?
No, what I'll do is, because I have a flat spot up here, so I'll just move it a little bit to the north, so to speak, but by moving these to the south by 5-6 feet, 3 of these tanks already were at basically fairly level ground. It was just these 2. By moving it 6 feet allows me to get these also on level ground.
That won't conflict with
What
the-
was running this steep grade right here was the set of steps. So by moving it back, I could just swing it in and those would be flat.
That won't conflict with the electric line coming in?
No,
The electric line comes right through there.
that's correct. But again, the MEP is the same consultant, so they know that they've coordinated their drawings for the piping that comes off of here and then the site electric. But National Grid is not definitive on which pole they're gonna pull from yet. They're not gonna tell us until we actually send them an AutoCAD file, which they don't want us to send them an AutoCAD file until final approval has been set. And then they will dictate which pole they're gonna actually pull from. The original thought was they were gonna pull electric from here and actually run around the entire building to here. I think, when I used in communications, it was coming off of this pole. So my note on my drawing is actually changing, and I'm gonna eliminate my note, which was the original note from the electrical engineer, and just say refer to the electrical site plan. Because that, where the electric comes in is at this point not clear. The, on the electrical site plan basically says, and Matt, say if I'm wrong, but this National Grid's gonna pick the location. The site contractor is required to do the trenching, but then the piping all gets done by by National Grid, and they're gonna bring it into the transformer.
To add to that, Matt Sala, Tech 10 Architects, project architect. The site utility drawings that are related to actual utilities like National Grid and things like that are intent drawings, and then they come in, and once the contract is awarded to a contractor and they're executed to do their work, they actually do their own design, and then that's what gets implemented into the project.
Correct. My experience with National Grid, I can put it anywhere I want, doesn't matter. They're gonna put it where they want. Same thing with Eversource. Best laid plans to put it in a good location, they'll put it where they wanna put it. When we met with Jen in Brandon on the 12th of September, we talked about the bollard locations. We relocated the bollards, I misunderstood Jen and eliminated 2. I'll add those 2 back in. I only thought she wanted 1 between the 2. Sally Port Doors, she wanted 2, so I'm adding two bollards. Where should I put that? Concern between the backer curb underneath the guardrail to get backer curb and the top of that slope. We've added a note in a lot of detail showing a weed blanket with 6-inch riprap just from that 2-3 feet between the backer curb and the top of slope, so it'd be basically non-maintenance. So that will go from this location, basically from here to here. Jen's concerned about the attachment of the fence. We have a fence on top of the retaining wall. Talking to a couple of different block suppliers, we specified in the specific technical specs Ready Rock or approved equal, so we could get a different product.
Is that like Bristolock?
They're bigger blocks. They're 2 by 2 by
21 inches.
21 inches. If you go with another one that might be a little wider or narrower, the method of attaching the fence to the wall is really dependent also on the fence and the wind load caused by the fence. So once they are awarded the contract, then they will design the attachment to make sure that the fence stays secure, because you could core a hole and grout it in. There's other methods. You could bolt it depending on the fence, and they won't do that until they know that they've been awarded the job. And then they're obligated to provide certified shop drawings stamps, shop drawings, then we review it to make sure that it meets the criteria. So I can't provide an actual detail because I'm not sure what they're gonna pick at this point. And they won't tell me until they actually are awarded, if they are the awarding, if they get the job. Change the riprap from 6-inch to 8-inch, and I've also added, this plan I think that you have that was probably shows 3 boulders.
Yeah.
We requested we put 6.
That was something you thought about, Bob.
So we added 6. The
Yeah, I forget which sheet it is. You show a cross-section, don't you?
Yeah, it's on sheet C 3.0.
That's right.
So the plan's already changed to 6, and it does say a minimum weight of 200 pounds, which I believe is 1.8 diameter, 1.8 feet diameter. That's going to be, I'm going to leave it as 200 pounds, and since that's a standard Mass Highway spec on how they do it is by weight. But in the technical specs, I'll also make sure that it says annular and then the embedment a third of the way into the riprap, et cetera. That gets shown on in the technicals, or detailed in the technical specs.
Can you show me? Which one is it?
It's this one right there.
That's right. Yep.
But I just only showed one on there because if I started showing too many.
Yeah, I got you. But it says provide and place a minimum of 3 large boulders, 200 pounds minimum per location.
That's gonna be changed.
Yeah, that is, the plan already shows 6.
Okay.
So, talk about the Coltech film. We're changing the detail around the dumpster. We have chain link fence. Planning board doesn't like chain link fence. They want a plastic fence. Plastic stockade fence. So we're changing the detail to be a plastic stockade fence. There's a question on the fuel tank underneath the generator. It is a diesel fuel tank, generator, and the fuel tank is contained within underneath the generator. So there's not a separate tank for that. And then there's
It's a part of the generator, I'm hearing?
correct. Yeah, so there's tank, the generator sits up a little bit, and the fuel tank is underneath, all within a self-contained tank underneath the generator. I believe there's noise attenuation on this generator.
Yes, yes.
And then we had talked about putting a swale. We're using the existing slope, or a little bit of a rise over to the south, so we're providing that slope, utilizing that, and then providing a clear swale behind the septic, discharging out over in here. So I think that addressed all of the comments from the last meeting, and then open it up for any further questions.
It does. Okay.
Brandon, any more?
So I sent the email memo summarizing my meeting on the 12th. Got a few questions back. The only questions that Mr. Howland did not answer already in his talk was a question about salt. Has that ever come up? Because this is a new issue.
No.
It's a new question that came up. Sodium chloride use. You look a little awestruck.
This has not been a question that's come up before.
Well, it came up. Does the commission have any concerns about salt use on the property, which will eventually make it into the stormwater system, which will be discharging very close to the wetland? I think that Mr. McElroy has an answer.
Yeah, we did O&Ms, at least for the concrete surfaces, sidewalks and all of that, call for sodium chloride rather than salt, because the salt will cause decay.
Well, sodium chloride is
Sorry,
salt.
calcium chloride.
Calcium chloride.
Calcium chloride, my apologies.
That is an alternative, and I see Mr. Salad might have something too.
No, we also, in our concrete specs for all the actual concrete parking surfaces, like the Sally Port and garages, we use an anti-chloride inhibitor for any salts that are coming onto the site from vehicles driving down the roads.
So when and where might you use sodium chloride?
That's a question for the town engineer, not these fellows, because they don't do the sanding. They don't do the
That's in
sanding.
the operation plan.
Yeah, we don't have a restriction on the use of that on asphalt.
They use
so that
magnesium
would be
chloride
up to
too?
them.
Yeah, calcium, I think, is the more common one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it prevents the degradation of the concrete surfaces.
Right, yeah, that's right, sodium chloride will pit it.
You know what the town uses now? Jim Smith, 570 Mendon Road. Well, the problem is, you know, the M route is Putnam Hill Road. That's adjacent to the Blue Jays. So I don't know what the state uses. I think the town uses calcium chloride. So I don't know what the specs on the state are.
Sodium chloride is not the greatest for wetlands and wetland plants and wetland wildlife. Was a question that came up in the responses from my memo. So wherever an alternative could be used, it's recommended. The question is does the commission as a whole wish to push the issue? And if you do you want to put a condition in that an alternative must be used at this site?
What would the alternative be?
Well, calcium chloride is an option. What's the other one you're talking about, Matt?
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, but you're also talking about a liquid, was it?
No, you got the inhibitor.
No, it's an additive we put in the concrete.
Oh, right.
But a more realistic question, and I don't have the answer to, is there anything that we can do, because we've only got 2 places where the water's leaving the site, to further protect it from the chemicals getting into the wetlands through snow melt and so forth?
Well, we already have, one of the good things is that the snow storage areas are well away from the wetland areas, and I think that's a positive. But there's still going to be salt, some kind of salt put down on the asphalt.
No, so just say, is there any, I don't know, is there anything that is available, Jeff, to help or Art?
And this is one of those things, too. It's kind of like prohibiting phosphorus in your fertilizer. How the heck are you going to enforce it?
I agree. That's
It's
why I was-
It's nice to put it down in an order, but how are you going to enforce it? And I think that it's probably a good thing that you say you could put a condition that calcium chloride is or you know, some kind of a sodium alternative to sodium is required here. That's has less of a adverse impact on the wetlands. But I mean, I don't think we're going to be going into the stores to inspect, you know, the bags.
Yeah, I mean, the problem here is I'm assuming that the plowing and the sanding is going to be town forces. We're not going to sub out to a private entity to maintain the facility. So if the town is using a certain product, that's the product you're going to get. They're not going to have a separate product just for this particular site. I think that question really should be directed to a different board, if that's a concern, because it is a concern, I don't disagree. But I think it should be more of a town-wide issue. But if they're already using calcium chloride, then I think that's, was it calcium chloride? That's obviously a better product, but if there's something better that the town could possibly use,
Does the applicant wish
Is there any way
to?
of taking it out? Is there a pillow or absorbent pads or anything that would help take some
I
of
am
that
not
out
aware of
water?
anything.
I don't know. I'm asking the question. I don't know.
Yeah, I think take out the chloride is, I don't think there is actually a method to take it out yet.
Into that, we're also already accepting all of the stuff from the multiple catch basins in the road that are coming onto site.
Oh, no, I agree. That's why I don't think we can limit the use of calcium chloride or salt or any of that. So that's why I was going to the next question. Is there anything that
I am not aware of anything to take out the salts.
science that helps do that? That was my question. If
Wait.
there isn't, I guess,
Yeah, not that I'm aware of, because I know New Hampshire has that same problem.
okay.
That they're trying to figure out a way. UNH is working on that quite a bit, trying to figure out ways to get salt out, because in New Hampshire, it's a major problem. I know Mass Highway, I don't know what they use here, but I know they use a lot of brine. But that also comes with other added issues with equipment. And if the town's doesn't have a brine tank and another, then it's not, you're not going to do that just for this particular site.
Yeah, all right. This is what it is.
I guess that the real challenge would be getting the highway department to use an alternative throughout all town, but that's a
That's not
little
gonna happen.
beyond the
Well,
scope.
I say
Well,
that's
you got
that's a
the state
question.
road.
Yeah, that's a question that you should take up with them if.
Right.
We could also heat the entire parking lot, but that's not gonna happen either, so.
That is an
I don't
alternative.
think.
Yeah, you could have one of those radiant heat.
Moving
parkings.
right along now.
Just trying to find ways to spend the town's money. So one of the things I did was I sent around, one of the things we talked about at the meeting on the 12th, Jen requested a draft order of conditions. We've done this twice before, and I think this one's worthy of a draft. Send it out to see if there are any questions or concerns by the applicant and the commission as we go through this, so that there's no ifs, ands, or buts once the order does get issued. So I want to ask the applicant if they've read it, and if there's any issues, any questions. Is there anything that you didn't like?
Nope.
It didn't sound right. Based on tonight, a couple things that I didn't put in there so far was to reference the O&M plan to be made as an attachment to the special conditions, so that's always in there. And to also reference the SWIP, and in the past, what has been done, I don't know, PVC was one of them, where once the SWIP was written, is requested as a condition that the SWIP be, a copy of the SWIP be brought to the Conservation Office. All right, any issues with that?
No.
Has the commission seen this? Have you read it? You have any questions or concerns? No? All right, then it sounds like we're in pretty good shape. I talked to Jeff Walsh today. He's pleased with everything that's been happening. You have any, I see you have the letter from Graves dated today. How are you with Mr. Walsh's comments?
Yep, I don't have any issues.
Does it require any revisions to the plans as a
No.
result of those?
No.
Okay. How are you with planning board?
We go to planning board next Monday night. They are waiting for your decision, for you to close your hearing before they will.
Say, does the commission want to wait for their decision? Okay.
One thing that we haven't talked about tonight is the mitigation in opening up that stream channel on,
Oh, right. The last time we were here, one of my questions was where there was a reference to the Mrs. Artsdale was the sequence. What was it? The protocol.
The stream culvert removal.
Yeah, protocol. And I said, where is it? It wasn't on, and Art said, oh, we're gonna put it on the plan. It's on the plan now, the protocol's on the plan.
It was actually on the plan, just unfortunately Art didn't know where it was, but it was there already. It was on the original, because we knew that was being a concern, and that actually was on I believe it was on the original submittal. It may have moved around a little bit.
Yep.
But it has been on the drawing.
Do you intend to request that the hearing be closed tonight?
Yes.
All right, so, I have one, two, really, one, two, three, no, I have two in here already, conditions, special conditions, the rest is boilerplate standard, but then there's a section of special conditions that read specific to this application. And one of them is always refer to the finding of facts, which is the narrative at the beginning of the special order, which kind of explains how this sausage got made, so to speak. And special condition 27 regards conservation signage. And then 28 is, after initial grading, planting, and seeding, the area within 25 feet of the wetland boundary shall be maintained as a no disturbance zone, or as we will now call it from after tonight, the no-go zone. And shall only be disturbed to remove invasive plant species and to maintain stormwater structures. So this has been something that's kind of evolved with the order, is that with these no-touch, no-go zones, that they be allowed to grow up naturally, but also at the same time that the applicant owner has an obligation to keep it free of invasive plants. Do you have any objections to that? But also, I'm thinking I should put in also some kind of caveat that the owner applicant has the right to maintain the stormwater structures. Do you have any problems with that? So
Yeah, you have that at the end of the remove invasive plant species and to maintain stormwater structures already.
Oh, there it is, okay. Yeah, I already forgot. So the other two I will add is that I will reference the operations and maintenance plan, that it's part of the order, and attach it to the end of the order. And that I will request that the applicant provide a copy of the SWIP once it's complete. Any objections?
Nope.
Okay. I'll leave it to you now.
We still had open your comment, Bob, on the structure, whether we're gonna move it back or not, and I don't know if that was resolved. It wasn't in my mind.
That wasn't mine either.
I mean, to the pleasure
Well,
of the
we're
commission,
gonna-
obviously.
Well, we were gonna have to move it back to 6 feet as Graves had recommended it could be.
Oh, so, yeah, what's your pleasure on that? You
Well, Graves recommends it being back. They're our consultant as well, or the town's consultant, so it's in favor of what we'd like to see, to get it as far out of the wetlands as it can.
Everybody else on the commission agree?
No problem with that.
No problem. So you'd like to see them pull it back 6 feet?
Yeah.
Okay, so then the question is, they're going to request that the hearings be closed. Is that something you feel comfortable doing as a closed contingent upon?
Oh, we've got, as far as I can see, the plans haven't been revised in accordance with this letter anyhow, so there's gonna be several pages of things that you can't close on that set of drawings, because that set of drawings doesn't reflect the items that Jeff just went over here, i.e., if nothing else, the relocation of the gas tanks, the filling stations for the gas tanks, the landscaping slope on the thing there. We've still got the issue of the water quality structure. I've got a couple other questions as well.
The question of the double wall with
Yeah.
secondary containment, you want that in as a condition?
Well, they already said that if we,
Right, but do you want it, because
I'm just saying, there's a whole
should it
litany
be,
of things.
do you want it in
that-
as a specific condition in case another board says it's not necessary, and if we don't put it in, then they
Yes.
would have no allegation? Okay.
Yes.
So condition.
you said you had a couple other questions, Bob.
Well, I just, on the fire pump station, there's a floor drain, and I was wondering where that was gonna be hooked up to.
I have no idea.
I'm sorry.
There's a floor drain called out on the package pump station for the fire system, and I was wondering where that was being tied into. It's called out on the detail, on the specification sheet on it.
No idea. It's probably not on the drawing.
It's not on the drawings.
That's
The other thing is, I don't know where it was initiated from, but there was a detail sheet, and some of the information was just recently submitted, or I actually got it from Brandon. It calls out for 9,000 gallon septic tank, and I was wondering where that was being used.
What's that? What did I say?
I said some of the information that I've received, and I credited you with giving it to me,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
was a detail sheet that said a 9,000 gallon septic tank, and I didn't know where that was going to be used in the drawing or on the job, so I was inquiring as to what that detail was referencing.
I don't think that, we have a 2,500 gallon septic and a 3,000 gallon holding tank.
I agree. I agree with you. I'd say
I don't have anything that
one of the
hasn't.
PDFs that was attached to the email strain that you just recently sent me that had these
Today?
cisterns. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And all that.
I'll show you everything that I got.
Had showed a 9,000 gallon septic tank. And I just didn't know.
I got the electrical site plan
Correct.
yesterday. I got, what else I got?
There is a plan that does show on the propane tanks. The site plan of the propane tanks does show 5 1,000 gallon tanks. The original design was to have one 5,000 gallon tank. So there is the detail on the plumbing plan, I believe, shows one 5,000 gallon tank, but it's just in one of the notes. It was spec'd and bid as 1,000 gallon tanks. That trade has already been bid as 1,000 gallon tanks.
Did you find that? You didn't find that PDF that you forwarded?
I think that I forwarded it by email, but I don't think I copied it to the folder. I've got the electrical site plan, which came in yesterday, which is this thing.
No, the floor drains referenced in the specifications under the package pump station. The submittal for the package pump station,
Yeah.
the floor drain is referenced in that submittal package.
So that falls under the fire protection contractor scope, and that would be something that would be part of his coordination drawings. So it's not.
It has to tie into Jeff's system someplace. I don't think that he's designing where his floor drain goes.
So the only floor drains that go to the oil sand separator are the ones that are in the actual garages. All the rest of the floor drains tie into the same system.
Yeah,
Tie into what same system?
I think the flat floor drain still all falls under fire protection. It does not fall into civil.
Well, where does it tie into? Because
I
it's
don't
under
know.
fire protection, it doesn't have to tie into anything, or do they just run it direct
Well,
to
it's
the
the same.
road?
It's the same as the rest of all the other floor
I
drains.
don't know where they go. I don't know. Because the detail does not show a floor drain on this plan.
I agree
Yeah,
it doesn't.
there was a cistern
The
drawing.
submittals do, that's all. The submittal package that you got for the package pump station, the only little package that you submitted, set of
Correct.
drawings, it's 5 or 6 pages.
Oh, the product cut sheets.
Yeah, if you read through that, it says that the package pump station comes with a floor drain, and I was curious as to where the floor drain was being tied into.
Oh, I found it.
Is it this one right
This is all the stuff that came in. All right, so we got this regarding the liquefied petroleum gas piping with those specs. What was this?
That's
here?
the
That's the...
liquefied gas petroleum specifications.
gas.
There's a cistern drawing.
Yep.
Okay, any questions about that? Okay, there was fire package.
Well, that package there, if you read through that package, it referenced the floor drain, and I was just curious
So-
as to where the floor drain was.
So this
being
is a product cut sheet. This is the basis of design. This is not the exact system that's specified and designed and detailed into the product. This is their typical system for the fire pump house.
Are you trying to say there's not going to be a drain in there?
I'm saying I don't have that information with me at this moment.
Okay.
But to say that that's the cut sheets that went out to a contractor to bid the job would not be accurate, because they wouldn't have that information. That's one vendor. You're required to keep a spec open so that, to allow competition, so they could purchase a different product or something like that.
Is it there or is it?
Here's a drawing of a septic tank.
Says, I thought that said 9,000 gallon.
Whose tank is
Oh,
that?
you know, it does say it right
Whose
there.
tank is that?
That's what I thought.
Not ours.
So I didn't know.
That's not from us.
No, I apologize. That's why I was questioning. I
It
don't know where it came
it
from.
came in with a
Yeah,
stuff today. Who did I get it from? Who did I get it from? Because I know everything I've been getting from the planning office or from you
Oh,
guys directly.
that's
I've been
fine, as
forwarding.
long as it's not.
I know it
part
didn't
of
come from me.
That's, I mean, it's not part of the project, that's fine.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I know it didn't come from me. Because I know mine are,
It's kind of, I get email on my phone, but it's not, it's easier to find the thread and figure out who sent to who when you're actually at your computer. if anybody's had to do that before.
But that doesn't apply to this job. All right, that
Yeah,
answers that question.
So I'm not sure where that came from.
Okay. Came in on Monday.
Doesn't go to this job, so I think we can
That's correct.
let that go.
Okay. Very detailed eye, Bob. So, going to be putting in adding the condition of a holding tank shall have secondary containment, i.e. double wall. Is that adequate? Okay.
Sure. Joyce?
I'm going to add reference to the O&M, which I still have in yellow. I'll finish that later. Request of SWIP. What else am I missing? Am I missing anything?
Landscaping.
Landscaping, anything within 100 feet?
No, I was more concerned about the slope protection where the slope is greater than, or steeper than 2 to 1, which is not maintainable, and I wanted to make sure that it was protected from erosion. It's in a location that's going to be subject to a lot of snow and hardship and everything else being on it, and it's something that could very easily become not only an erosion problem for us, but a tremendous maintenance problem for the town.
So what's the recommended condition?
Jeff had already suggested that it was going
Yeah, so the
to...
landscaping plan has been revised, which, to show the same, I believe it's the same slope stabilization that's on the 1-to-1 slope. It's that juniper, flat juniper, which works very well on steep slopes.
Okay. How about while the slope is still has soils are still not unstabilized? So you're going to be doing any kind of jute mesh? Or
You
you're
got a
gonna
jute mesh blanket on your deep.
That's correct. There is jute matting shown on there. And then I have a standard note on mine that any slopes graded 3 to 1 or greater also will actually have jute matting.
Okay, so a recommended condition where slope is greater than 2 to 1? 3 to 1.
I believe I say 3 to 1. That's usually my standard note.
Okay. Is that all right, Bob?
Yeah.
Yep.
Use jute mesh.
And also, it says 3 to 1 on all slopes greater than 3 to 1 and drainage swales.
And now, if it's already on the plan, do we really need to make it an additional condition?
The thing is, the area that we're in discussion is not on the plan. So that's why it has to be addressed, or the plan has to be revised, or somehow you gotta tie the two together if you wanna close it tonight, I believe.
And where slopes greater than 2 to 1, you're gonna be plant the ground juniper? All right, you get that too?
Correct your spelling there.
Yeah.
It's a French juniper.
That's the way I'd spell it.
French Canadian.
Bar Harbor juniper.
Bar Harbor. Okay.
Is that native? We could use some out here at the edge of the parking lot because there's a
Moving right
blowout
along.
with erosion there.
I'd like to
Going down
quickly
to
go
Boston
through
Road.
the in perpetuity conditions, because this has been an issue and I don't want it to be an issue anymore. Standard one, continue maintenance of all disturbed areas in a way that'll keep things permanently stabilized. That's number 34 right now. In perpetuity, so basically keep the site stable, keep it stable forever. Invasive plant species shall be removed in perpetuity from the 25 no disturbance zone mentioned above. That's that 25-foot zone we've already talked about it. All the trees that are planted within the 25-foot no disturbance zone, which are those 5 swamp whites, shall be maintained in perpetuity. So if a tree dies, even if it's 10 years from now, it has to be replaced. Issues with that? Okay.
Brandon, before you continue, Jeff just confirmed with our fire protection engineer that there is no floor drain in that pump house.
It's not in the specification.
Let me write that down. No floor drain in pump house?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And the last one is that the conservation signage will be maintained in perpetuity. Any objections, questions, concerns? Then I think that we're pretty well set.
How do we reference the revisions to the drawings that have been mentioned and close the public hearing?
Public,
Yes,
I'm asking,
comments from the public.
I was asking that question myself.
It's a good
Just
question.
my own,
He's entitled to ask a question, doesn't he?
I understand that I've got to ask for the general public yet.
I heard close hearing.
No. I asked, we're looking to close the public hearing. There are a lot of things that have been said that we're gonna change on the drawings. I'm uncomfortable with that. How do we get from A to B?
Can I make
don't see a
a,
clear path.
can I make a suggestion?
You can.
Is before you sign the order of conditions, because I also don't know what may come up Monday night. There may be a minor tweak or two that may come up Monday night, that all these items get addressed prior to you signing the order of conditions, if assuming you will close the hearing.
Would that mean that you would sign a 21-day waiver?
If necessary, yes.
That might be a vehicle in which to get around that problem.
I mean,
Public hearing's closed, and something comes up Monday night, and now it's a who shot John, or what do we do?
in theory,
Want to move it along?
yeah, in theory, revised plans can be submitted after the public hearing is closed, as long as it's not a new issue that has come up. It's not uncommon to close a public hearing contingent upon you've already got in your orders, basically in the order, draft order conditions, that this shall be done prior to. So before really you can sign the plan, that has to be addressed anyways, in a I would assume a revised drawing to you that shows all of those changes, all the comments. And again, if planning, what I don't want to do is if you say, nope, it can't be closed until all the things are addressed, and then planning board changes something, then I'll be back in front of you again if you say I can't change the plans after it's closed. Because planning board will not close until conservation closes. They've made that clear.
How come they get Trump authority?
So here's a question. Do you plan on having new revision dates on your sheets?
No later than, what's Monday, 25th? 26th?
26th.
26th. 27th. 27th. Since Monday is the planning board, if they have a few tweaks here and there, which we,
25th,
is Monday the 25th, will be the day after.
This is up to you.
All right, with that said, any comments from the public?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous.
Make a motion to issue an order of conditions subject to revisions of the plans that should be submitted on 25th or 26th.
On the list.
It'll be probably day the 26th and 20, I'd say they'd be submitted no later than
Just say next
that week.
week.
Yes.
Okay, I would also just suggest that you specify special conditions and read them through quickly.
Okay, specifying the special conditions, refer to the findings of fact at the beginning of this order. Conservation signage shall be installed at the permanent limit of disturbance as depicted on the site plan and shall be generally placed 50 feet apart and at turning points in the direction of the LOD. After initial grading, planting, and seeding, the area within 25 feet of the wetland boundary shall be maintained as a no disturbance zone and shall only be disturbed to remove invasive plant species and to maintain stormwater structures. Holding tanks shall have secondary containment, i.e. double-walled. The O&M plan and request the SWIP.
These two as well.
Where slope is greater than 3:1 and drainage swales and jute mesh. Where slopes are greater than 2:1, plant Bar Harbor ground juniper.
Sound good?
And a waiver for the 21 days.
And, okay. Require waiver for 21 day, which is something we can do procedurally. We'll need to create a form for that. Hmm?
Need a second on this.
Oh, second. I'm gonna send this to you, Wanda.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you.
Aye.
Bill, did you do the second?
I did the second.
Oh, yeah, who was the motion?
Joyce.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Night.
Thank you.
Hour over.
Good.
You're an hour over.
I am.
This chair's a lot better.
Heading back.
New public hearing, Wanda?
Getting past bedtime. Have a good night, gentlemen.
Thank you.
47 Carrier Lane, Town of Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 20th, 2017, at 8:20, Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. Purpose of this hearing is to review a notice of intent submitted to the Conservation Commission by Timothy Britt. Project consists of raising an existing single-family dwelling, construction of a single-family dwelling with associated grading, utilities, and site work on map 53, parcels 33, 34, 35, and 52 on 47 Carrier Lane, Sutton, Mass. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. For the record, my name is Zach Couture with HS&T. I'm filling in for Pat Burke tonight. He was the project manager on this. Unfortunately, he could not be here. He did bring me up to speed with the project, but I will apologize if I'm not 100% on everything. We are representing Timothy Britt on the project, and as stated, we are planning on demolishing the existing house and then replacing it with another single family. Currently on site right now is an existing family home, along with 3 sheds, an existing carport, and a dock. With this proposal, the sheds will be also removed. The dock will remain in place. We are in front of you today because this work will be done within the bank of Stevens Pond and also bordering vegetated wetland.
The plans, Dan? Plans?
What's the issue?
Do we have any plans?
This plan's been issued?
Do you have plans for the commission?
You don't have
The
plans?
set of plans right
Okay,
there.
here we go.
PDFs were issued a week ago and issued to everyone?
No.
Did I ever receive
No, I
PDFs of
don't never
this?
see them.
It's right down the bottom.
Yep. What that noise is about is we like to have the plans a week before, so as we know what they are. before we
Right,
get there,
right.
Obviously. You didn't get them.
Yeah, I received a portion, this little corner of the plan by PDF, not the whole thing.
And I said, I do apologize.
Yep.
I am
And
filling in for Pat
It's not going to
Burke.
affect your presentation
All
tonight.
right, thank
Will affect our ability to move on it.
Right, and also to touch upon that as well, the state has not issued a filing number, so I don't believe we have the
Neither do they.
ability to close tonight anyways. Kind of our objective tonight is to get the dialogue rolling, definitely hear your concerns, your comments, and definitely implement them into the plan set, so when we come back in front of you, we can have a more lockdown plan for you guys.
Excuse me, you were asking something, Joyce? I didn't. You're all set.
Also, I was looking through the folder. This is very similar to this site was actually in front of this board in, I believe, 2010. And the only real difference is the footprint has changed. Basically, they were proposing the same thing, the removal of a house and the construction of a new one. And essentially, the real big change from then to now is the proposed house, the footprint has changed. Also on the older plans, there was 5 blueberry bushes to be planted. Those have now since been planted.
I saw those. 6.
You're ahead of the game.
There's 6.
So here's the existing house, proposed house.
Now, is this an existing non-conforming lot, do you suppose?
Sometimes larger.
And I believe there was some relief granted by the ZBA as well.
Okay.
I believe that was for a rear setback.
When I got to the site, I said, this is deja vu. I've been here before. And come to find I have. And that this came in, 2010.
Is there an open order on that?
I do not have anything for an order of conditions on this. And my
New
and my-
owner, I believe.
Well, he wants a new order, so it
A
would.
new owner.
Oh, a new owner.
He might
Yeah,
not
right. Well,
know.
it was go through the ownership, Mr. Britt.
It was originally my parents, and I took over ownership from them in 2010.
I remember this too. I remember some discussion about the blueberry bushes down there.
Anyway, this is what it looked like in 2010. It's very similar to what it looks like today. Not much has changed. That could be today. It could be today because
The septic up there on the hill?
Yes.
yeah. So that's 2010. If you go to today, 2017.
Water should be in
You
the
know,
front.
it looks almost identical. Not much has changed at all.
Pickup trucks, Noah.
It's like
I
the
didn't
Twilight
know.
Zone. And here's the blueberry bushes. House.
Order of conditions.
Okay. Anyway,
Was that
those.
for just the septic, or was that for removing the house? I
You
think,
should say it on the,
I
on
think
the
it might have
notice
been
of
just the
intent.
septic.
Page 2 on the notice of intent will say it.
It should say project description somewhere.
Oh, yeah, he's looking at the other conditions.
Should hand this to somebody that knows.
Project consists of proposal of demolishing the existing single-family home and rebuild. Now, that's this one, okay? So where's the other? Got the new one?
So he
That's
got the one in
that's
his,
what
he's got it in his
says.
hand.
Yeah.
Hand it over here, please.
It says, propose demolishing the existing single-family home and rebuild a new single-family home on map such and such. So that's the first order. I did not know there was another order. I don't know.
Oh, this is, this one goes back to before I was writing the orders. So this is just a boilerplate,
That's standard.
the standard boilerplate before I started writing them.
Yep.
So,
More. There appears to be an order of conditions to do
So
what
you
they're
need to
applying
close
for.
that order to redo the other order, because it's the same. Can't have
well, no,
two-
you don't. This one should be expired by now.
It is.
This one's
2010.
expired. You're right, it's expired and nothing happened. So, what needs to be done is a request for a certificate of compliance in which the commission will check the box where it reads, work was never begun. Okay? So can you do that in the next couple of weeks? It's a very
Absolutely.
simple form.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, here you go. Thank you. There you go. So you can take care of that at the same time. It's a procedural thing. Get the DEP file number, and as far as I can see, the only thing you're adding to this plan is a garage over, yeah, you pointed out.
Yeah, there is a garage added.
What was the dimensions?
It's going to be 24 by 32.
Right, so question that I have, which is a standard thing with the town of Sutton, if you'll find out if you keep on coming. What are you gonna do to handle the roof runoff? The commission prefers it to be infiltrated.
And I'm not very familiar with the general methods that you guys would like. I mean, we could do, you know, just like a standard dry well or a Coltech system. Typically, I'm not super familiar with the soils out there, so I'm not sure the height of groundwater, which is something we'll have to take into consideration because you do need separation for the infiltration to work. But we can offer some kind of mitigation for the roof litter.
I have a question also. Was the original order conditions registered with the Worcester Registry of Deeds? If not, the original needs to be registered before you do the certificate.
Good point.
That I'm not aware of. I
You
can't.
don't have the paper on that. Usually I staple them to the front of the order, and it's
Okay.
not there. So if that order was not registered, that means the commission will have to sign a second one.
No.
Or you, but it has to order the original. The original has to be submitted.
Oh,
not
it's
a
the
copy.
original.
You need
Right,
to
you're
find
right.
the original.
With the original signatures, yes. And
Probably
you may or
Blue
may
Ink.
not have that anymore.
HS&T was the firm that handled this process back at that
Might they
time.
have the original on file?
Maybe.
We'll have to find out.
I can check. I do have the folder with me, which I know that it's not in this folder.
And otherwise it might be one of your parents, which could be problematic finding it. Okay.
Because they won't accept a copy. They'll kick it back at you and tell you to come back.
Well, all you'd have to do is just get a new signature page.
Right, new
really,
signature
which is
page
not a
with
big
the
deal.
order.
So,
But check first to see if you
Okay,
have.
I'll check. I can check in to see if that was ever filed.
and
I moved it.
one thing that Mr. Britt pointed out to me when I was at the site is that the dock, at the end of the dock, there's supposed to be reflectors. He has solar-powered lights. And my opinion on that is that that's nice, but they're subject to failure, whereas a reflector really is a kind of a fail-safe kind of thing to do. So I'm going to recommend that he install the reflectors on the ends of the dock.
We've got a request for a CFC here also.
Really?
What's the date on it? How come it never got submitted? So I'm wondering, I can't get on from here. Can you get on the internet?
What, Wanda?
Can you get on the internet to go to Mass Land Records?
I can't. I'm not connected to the internet.
I'm supposed to be, and I'm not.
Timothy and Maureen Britt.
Yes.
That's you?
Yes.
Maureen's your wife?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recognize this, Mr. Britt? Have you ever seen that? You know, the problem is that it doesn't have the DEP file number on it. So I can't reference what that was for. 2007?
Trees, only two trees. Oh, this is the, and the reflectors. When the septic was redone.
So it's not.
The septic was done, I believe, in '07, and there were some trees that were not replaced. That's what the blueberry bushes were for.
Okay, gotcha. Not associated with the last one.
Because I remember going down there and hiking up the back for the septic system and then going around the front.
That was like 2 minutes before my time.
So those blueberry bushes that you saw today were to replace those trees in question on that form.
Okay.
There's a driveway here and then it goes right up straight and up on the top. He had a picture.
Very confusing. Moving right
A lot of
along.
stuff going on
Yep.
with this property, but it's a property that is pretty well, everywhere they're proposing to do work is either lawn or gravel driveway. I think it's a matter of, and what they're doing, I don't think it really gets that much closer to the lake.
It actually, the foundation itself will actually move a little further from the lake. The decks themselves will come out, but they won't have any kind of foundation. But
It looks like only slightly.
yeah, and the foundation itself is actually going to get pulled in. I'd say roughly about 10 feet.
And you don't need to cut down any trees to do this?
No, no.
It's all cleared out. So my biggest concern is that, seeing as that it's not really gonna be going any, well, maybe what, 5 feet closer? I'm looking at the boats out, and the deck's gonna be a little bit closer, but it's all gonna be within existing lawn, so here's the lake side of the house, so it's gonna come up a little bit more. Does the commission feel that any kind of mitigation for permanent impact is required? Yes, sir, Mr. Taft.
I'm confused.
Tell me how.
Well, the picture shows me at least 2 substantial trees to the left side of the house. I'm assuming you're at the water looking back. And if I look at this drawing, I don't see any trees shown on this drawing at all. So to say that there's no trees coming down is maybe not correct, particularly if they're left side where, according to this drawing, it says proposed house. It seems to me that there's a slight conflict there. If this is the water and you're looking back at the house, would you say that those trees were in
That was
this
the
area
back
here?
side, that's the front of the house.
Mm-hmm.
The other one's from the water looking up.
Which would be this way here, which would be, those
Right
trees would
over
be
here,
here,
yeah.
which I don't see them on the drawing, and
No.
they certainly, from this picture, appears that they would have to come down to put that house in, because the house is extending some
Do the next page.
20 feet further to the left.
From the pictures, I do believe you are correct.
But I mean, not to be, your drawing is supposed to reflect all trees over 5 inches
Okay.
on the drawing, and apparently it's not. So we can't even assess whether those trees are gonna come down.
And that was a 5-inch diameter, sorry?
I believe it's like
Anything over 5 inches, yeah,
Has to be
needs
shown
to
on the
be put on a plan and reference.
Have a mitigation plan for replacing them?
Not at this time. Well,
Well, no, I'm just saying that if you cut them, you have to replace them
Okay,
with native
And-
species.
And again, I apologize for not being familiar with the bylaws. Is it a 1-to-1 ratio? Is it a 2-to-1
Yeah,
ratio?
If it's a tree, but there has to be 2.5-inch caliper tree replacement.
And obviously a native Asian longhorn resistant caliber tree.
I like that. Asian longhorn resistant.
Forget you heard it.
I do primarily most of my work in Worcester, and they're very, very strict on that.
I'd like to,
Go ahead, Bob.
I haven't had a chance to look at the drawings first time I looked. I'd like to have some sort of brief summary of the surface areas of the buildings that you're taking down versus
Okay.
the new buildings. All right. Around your well in particular, we need double row of hay bales and silt fence to
Yeah.
protect against the millings
Double
going to the
row.
well. I don't feel that you've given yourself enough room. I mean, where you're taking the carport down, I assume you're gonna reloam and seed underneath the carport at some point? Well,
Yeah.
that's disturbance, and it's not encompassed within your erosion control, so I would
Okay.
suggest you look at the
Expand
limits of your erosion control further.
Absolutely.
Encompass the work and give you enough room to get around the site.
Yeah, do they have erosion controls on that?
Well, it's this line here.
Do they know, do you know the regulations for the
No
erosion control?
detail, there's no detail.
No detail.
I believe I heard from the previous meeting that you guys are not very fond of hay bales, so I'm assuming you'd be
You have a clear
more.
understanding.
Yeah, you'd be more comfortable with like a
12
straw
inch-
wattle or a silt set.
12-inch wattles, biodegradable, 100%, no plastic mesh on them.
Okay.
And along the area that abuts the pond, or the pond side of things, we, kind of like to see silt fence as well.
Okay.
Just as a
Sure.
And the details should be on the drawing. to
Okay, with
reflect that
detail.
for the contractor, so he knows what he's doing.
Now, do you guys have a standard detail for that, or is this something you would like us to create?
Is this the sump detail?
The straw wattles.
Oh,
The mulch, 12-inch.
Because preferably I'd like to use your details, so whoever contracts
I
it
have
uses exactly their
something.
specifications.
Yeah, I have. Do I have? I think I do have something, but I think it references 9-inch, and we're requesting. That was at the time 9-inch, but it's been changed to 12.
12, okay.
And 100% biodegradable.
You also referenced the fact that you're gonna have a garage on the site, but you're not really showing a driveway, whether it be gravel, asphalt, or concrete, or pavers, or whatever, to the garage.
I believe at this point are you planning on paving, or is it going to stay
No,
gravel?
we were gonna keep the stone dust as it
Well,
is.
as I say, it's not identified on the
should be
location
specified.
of it, specified that this
Okay.
is a driveway, it's a stone dust driveway.
Yeah.
It's not really identified there.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. It's shown on the existing, but with the new house being proposed, I can see where it would get confusing. That's something we could address on the plans for sure.
And you should also address on the drawing, so we're not guessing, what areas are gonna be loamed and seeded, lawn areas versus stone versus whatever.
Okay.
I mean, there's no landscaping shown on the drawing at all. Not that there has to be landscaping in the form of trees and shrubs necessarily, but note that this is gonna be lawn versus a drawing that says nothing.
Okay.
When you revise the plans, the board typically likes them in, what, 1 week prior to the next
prior.
meeting?
1 week prior?
So,
And in the form of a PDF, so they can be easily disseminated.
I was gonna say, we can give you an email address.
And you usually like at least 2 copies for the file, a hard paper plus PDF.
I requested that from the engineer, whose name is and I can't pronounce his name.
That would be Hussein Agani. He's the actual PE. The project manager who's been dealing with this is Patrick Burke, and he'll more than likely be here next time.
But if you
but
could
I
just
can-
let him know,
Yeah,
because
absolutely. So 1 week prior, PDF, and also 2 hard copies as well.
it only helps you out if we have them early,
Yeah, absolutely.
and speeds it up.
Let me see if I got it all here, Bob. You want the, some detail, some? You saying something about, you're not creating a new well, are you?
No, sir.
No,
Yeah, it looks like, it.
does?
I don't know, the water line to a well, I don't know if it's new or not. It says well and a water line. It's nice and dark, like it's a new something. So, and it's,
Sounds like they're gonna avoid putting a new well in.
I don't know. I mean, hey,
Right.
I got a drawing here that says
I believe that.
well,
that
and
is
there's a
exist- yeah.
heavy
Well,
black
why
line
don't
with a
you-
W
why
on
don't
it that goes someplace.
Market is existing.
Yeah, I can clarify that.
It's existing, fine.
Yeah. It is. I believe it is existing.
But if you're putting a new water line from the well to the house, you have to incorporate that area into your erosion control as well, anyhow,
Okay.
or area disturbance.
I think this is what we tried to avoid before, was just design people's plans.
I agree, but they're here for discussion and want some feedback, so I'm trying to give them what feedback I get for the 5 minutes I had to look at the drawings.
And we do appreciate it. Absolutely.
Show all trees greater than 5 inches, particularly looking at 2 potential on the south side of the house that may need to come down. Show mitigation, where new trees may be planted, and the policy is to replant 2.5-inch culvert native trees in the same general area, or if possible, closer to the water.
Okay.
Okay. All right, which areas will be lawn versus other? And along those lines, the garage looks like it has no driveway going to Carrier Lane, so that goes along with that. Well, what areas are gonna be lawn, what areas are gonna be stone dust or whatever it is? What else did I miss?
Well, we keep going. I mean, I'm assuming based on this drawing, there's absolutely no change in grading out there at all.
It's true. Any changes in grade? It's pretty flat, but.
Yeah, it'll basically mimic existing, which I can put a note on.
Oh,
there that
no.
says that.
I mean,
Right.
again, it's your profile design of the building, and I don't know what's happening.
Right, absolutely.
I wanted a brief summary, if I could, just on the square footage of roof that's coming down or buildings that are coming down versus what's going up, which would go a long ways towards working towards some of the mitigation.
Handle roof runoff.
The erosion control and the limit of work had to encompass all the work and not just part of it. Details. Construction drawings and not for construction drawings.
Those are typically, we only keep those during the permitting process. Once we do the final plans, those are removed. It's to avoid contractors picking up our plans that aren't fully permitted and going out and building them.
Kind of like the fully permitted, I mean, want the ones to see the details.
The last set of plans you'll receive, that won't be on there.
But in closing, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, this is just a cursory look at it. We have an opportunity to review it. So, I mean, this may or may not be, depending on what your revised drawings look like, a complete list. Correct.
Yeah, I will make sure that he has them into you with some good ample time for you guys to actually sit down and review.
When do you think you'd be prepared to come back?
I'm not.
You'd have to get this done in a week because we have a meeting in 2.
The DEP file would probably help you.
October 18th, maybe?
No, they gotta close out the other thing, right?
Well, that's
That can
an
happen.
easy one because work never began, so all you have to do is just fill out the paperwork and check off the box. The work never began. Work never
As
started.
long as it's recorded.
That's not where you.
Well, you know what, you could come back in 2 weeks and close out the certificate.
Okay.
No
All right,
sense
good.
dragging the engineer back here if that's all we're gonna do.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have to come, but you could come. And then 2 weeks after that, hopefully, the plans.
Does that sound doable for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it acceptable to you, sir?
Yes,
Okay. When do you expect you'd want to do this work?
a month from now.
Good luck
So
on
do
that.
Do you want me to put it on both the 4th and the 18th
It's mostly up to the
tonight?
engineer when he thinks he can have a set of plans that would pass muster in front of us so as we can.
The only part that concerns me is locating of the trees, because that means I'm gonna have to send my guys out there to do it, and that might take a little bit of time. And it's tight for a week to get them out there because they are extremely busy.
So the 18th.
Which I can motivate them and push them out there to do it, but that's the part that concerns me.
And it goes back to,
So if you close out the order of conditions, the old one, and then come on the 18th, I can do that, book that right now at the
I
same time.
just as soon if you're not gonna
7:20.
be back until a month from now. But to close it, and then the new discussion, bang, bang, and we're not wasting
do
people's
that, too.
time. I don't like wasting people's time.
Just a quick question if I can get you revised plans within 2 weeks and give you a week to
No,
review.
within a week.
No, I'm not saying to get on the next meeting. Would there be a possibility to get like a formal review letter after, a more
Yes.
thorough set of plans come in before the next hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
Whoa. A formal review letter
Confused.
of the plans before the next meeting
The October meeting.
Month out.
from the board.
A month from now.
Yeah.
Yes, that is possible.
Okay.
So you don't want to do the 4th, right?
Is October 18th enough time for you? That's
Yeah,
4 weeks
yeah.
from tonight.
I I'm very confident I can get these done within 2 weeks. I just want to give you ample time to be able to review it, so we don't, you know.
Then there'll be a 2-week review time, which means that that'll be enough time to create a review letter that'll go back to you and to the commission, and any further tweaks to happen before the next meeting.
Right, and that's my kind of the goal with me saying that.
Okay.
Is the new building got a basement in it?
Yes, sir.
So do you anticipate high groundwater when you're doing that? A lot of pumping?
It'll be a walkout facing the waterfront side, so the floor of the basement will be flush with grade.
So actually, there's no basement as we think of basements as a walkout.
Correct.
So it's
On the driveway side.
confined, it's just,
Yeah.
and, with your landscaping, you're gonna include any walks or anything else that you're putting in there, right?
Yeah, I can make sure that that's all included if we're.
Yes,
you know,
please.
We can do the walkways and things.
I'm gonna make a motion to continue to October 18th, 2017 at,
Well,
7:20 PM.
with the applicant's permission, because continuance is the prerogative of the applicant, so.
with the applicants, if,
And do we need to schedule two different things, one for the CFC, or is it just board business?
They have to submit the COC in time for the agenda to be posted 48 hours.
And that could just go to the meeting anyways, they don't have
That
to
can be
here
put
for
under
that.
board business, so it's
Okay.
not that formal.
How much time would you like before the meeting for the COC to be submitted? Can you just do it at the meeting?
Because I've already done the inspection, I already know that
Day
nothing's
of.
happened, so
Right.
it's just a formality.
Mhm.
The important
Day
thing
before.
is that you get that registered with
If it is not.
recorded with the registry of deeds.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have the original. If you don't have the original, they can sign another one on the 4th, and then you'd have to go forward with doing the certificate.
And then we could, and if, all right, so then if that would be the case, then we would just kind of lock everything up on the 18th.
Because I need the book and page number off the order of conditions to do the certificate.
Right. Okay, that is something I'll look into this week and get back
I'll
to
put
you
it
on.
under board business, so, for the next meeting, so just get it to me when you can.
So we've got a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Be at 7:20.
Sorry you had to wait so long.
And I thank you for your comments, and I'll make sure that the plans are more thorough for our next meeting.
And
Yes.
can there be two open order conditions on a lot?
Well, the other one's invalid.
Yes, they can.
And before they leave, do they have to do the avoidance and all that good stuff?
Yes, they should. Honestly, this one didn't get my full attention due to the police station and the fact that there was a very similar order beforehand, before everybody except Joyce's time, that had just about as much detail as this one had. But I did warn Mr. Britt today that there's a new commission, with a different set of thinking processes.
It's strictly a case of being consistent, that's all.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. But there can be two open orders. Any other? Yeah. Okay.
So I'll return on the 4th.
No, you don't have to come in on the 4th, I just need the paperwork.
Okay.
For the 4th, so that,
It doesn't need to be before.
no, but if they can get it to us by then, you guys can
So
do it and give it back
the object
rolling.
is to have the paperwork for the order of conditions ready for signing on the 4th, so that he can go to the registry, get it recorded, and that way there won't be any encumbrances really for the 18th, but really, there can be two open orders, so it's not that big of a deal. The new one would supersede the old one anyway, but it's
closing it
cleaner
just
this
in-
way. It's cleaner this way.
Are you thoroughly confused now?
Not entirely.
We'll work on it.
I'll wait to hear from the engineers to see if they can locate the original document
Right.
in their files
If they can't,
If they
then
can't.
they can re-sign another one on the 4th.
on the 4th.
Then you'll have to go forward with the rest of it.
And then I will have to be
Register it,
here. If
and
you
you
can't find the
can,
original, then I will be here on the 4th.
you don't have to,
Still
just
don't have
get
to
me
be.
the paperwork.
Okay.
You know,
Just come in and see her anytime, whenever you got the
Yeah.
paperwork.
Okay.
I'm
All right,
here
young
Monday
lady,
through
you
Thursday.
got all that? Good, 'cause we're all counting on you.
You probably took in more than all of us.
I agree, yeah.
All right, moving right along.
Thank you.
Can we make a motion? I don't know.
Guidelines changes. Okay, I found out that in order for you to do anything on these guidelines, you have to have an open order, or an open meeting. So.
Yeah, that's fine.
Whenever you guys decide to do that, yeah, just let me know. I'll keep it on here until you're ready to tell me when you want the meeting. Correspondence, not much going on, not much coming in. Track sheets.
Yeah, the
Same
only change
here.
to that is the
I've been
pre-construction I
sending-
did at 360R
Yeah,
Wilson Road
that,
today.
I'll put that on the track sheet.
And
I think I
that's-
sent you 17 and 18 by email. Site visit list, I had given a list out. Any of those you wanna do site visit on, I still have a pile stacked this high of anything that can be reviewed or whatever, whenever you
That
should
reminds
have the
me, the
list in your file.
14 Old Tavern and the 1 Maple.
I went to 14 Old Tavern already,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, he took pictures.
the
so-
issue with that is that, again, I called Glenn Kravosky, and he says the reason why they didn't come in is because the work was done more than 100 feet away, so therefore they didn't have to. Anybody wants to go out and pull tape, feel free.
I think we know Glenn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
No,
No?
I did go and look at that one that you asked me to
Yeah.
on Bon Hollow. Brandon's got pictures.
Yes, I do. Want me to bring that up? See all these pictures?
Wow.
Too many.
Way too many. Way
For
too
what?
many.
What's that for?
These are the number of times I've done inspections on this property because of problems. And maybe even some more that I didn't take pictures, but those are just the ones I
That's
took
Pond
pictures.
Hollow?
That's Pond Hollow.
Can I leave now?
It's my nightmare. Okay,
We all lived through that.
here we go. Here
Okay, so-
and here.
What is that, wood chips?
Yep.
We're right in here.
Yeah, they've actually they put a little diversion berm there to collect some of the water coming down the road and direct it off into that wood chip area. And whether it's that or down further, but the washouts that you saw previously are in that same area going down into the dam. Now, they have removed some of the silt fence on the road driveway coming up. That area is fully stabilized, and even though we didn't necessarily give permission to remove it, that's not an issue, I don't feel. There was definitely erosion, and the sediments accumulated at the bottom of that ravine, which I assume is
At the stream, you're saying, the ravine at the
Well,
stream.
There's a
go
delta
back to
there.
that picture, and whatever that is that the bridge goes over the top of, there's the edge of the bridge.
Which side of the bridge is this?
Left-hand side of the bridge.
Going
The-
in.
The side toward where the
Mhm.
house is gonna be in the, there's a delta forming to the left of that picture that you can't see. It's probably about
Yeah, it's,
10 feet wide.
Okay, this is the house side?
Yes.
Yeah, I know, it. Okay. So this would be the west side, the northwest side. Okay, yeah, and the stream's right down in here. Okay,
That's where they pulled all the trees out.
you can see your delta there. If the lights are off in particular, you can see the delta right there. Now, it is up against the silt fence. You can see the silt fence right there.
looks like the silt fence been taken down by the silt.
Some of it's, most of it's.
It's down right there.
Let me shut the light off, maybe you can see it better.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yes. Maybe now you can see that.
Yeah, silt fence looks down right here.
It's downwards, it's,
And there's a stream right there,
Where's the stream?
right there, in the, next to the delta there, right in there.
there's some
Yeah.
brush.
It's right in there in the brush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, look at it from there, you can't even see it, it's covered.
Oh, yeah, the stream's right here. Yeah. Yeah, that needs to be cleaned up, as usual. This site has been a nightmare, Mr. Chairman.
No, there doesn't appear to be any other work being done on the site other than some cutting of firewood.
They ran electricity up
Up
there, so
around.
they're about to start, I think.
Well, the conduit's in place, but the conduit is not complete all the way up to the building.
So we need
Unless
to-
you're talking about the
They
electricity
gonna
up to
build
the
a house
meter.
on top of that?
No,
Further up. You need a letter saying
and
that
that's electric.
they got this erosion going on, they gotta deal with it
Oh,
and
have they?
refresh all the fences, right?
For the 12th
One
time
more
at
time.
least.
While we're on the subject of Bond Hollow, that was the money issue under the old bylaw.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So you refunded it.
$2,300.
I believe and I may be wrong, it's 10 o'clock at night, but were we in agreement that that money would be paid to you out of the fund of the conservation? So you're not on the,
Yeah. It has to go through the town.
Got another
Right now,
discussion.
we are. Good,
It's called the Wetlands Protection Act Fund.
yeah.
And when I started 10 years ago, there's about $50,000 in it. Currently, it's in the red. So I don't know how I'm gonna get paid for going to the meetings for stuff that's like besides the applications I'm already reviewing, like, just one of the agreements that was made when I first started is that 1 hour of the 2 hours of travel time that I have gets taken from the WPA fund. The other hour has to be somehow apportioned equally among all my different projects. And then there's board business that's not associated with a application, gets to be put on and set up a breakdown time. It's been pretty standard for years now, what the cost is each month for me to come to the meetings, for just off-topic, off-application work. But I don't, at this point now, the well is run dry, so forget about the 2,300. How am I gonna get paid to even just come to the meetings now?
That's what we're gonna figure out with the,
We have to modify the
Town
fee schedule
administrator.
to reflect that.
Well, if the money's not gonna be associated with an application, I technically can't drain that account to cover other stuff that the commission wants me to do, which is be here and run this and give advice on, other stuff. So the question is, I think that the answer to that is to raise the bylaw fees, because that goes into the WAPA account, and it's been $25 per application since.
no, that doesn't, that goes into the general fund, the bylaw fee.
That should not be happening. Bylaw fee belongs to the Conservation Commission, should not go into the town's general fund.
It's considered an administrative.
so
my-
we're being told now there's no money left in the red.
Well, part of Wanda's salary comes out of that too, doesn't it?
The meetings do.
So how are you gonna get paid?
I don't know yet, Tim and I have gotta work on that and see what we can do.
Okay,
We'll make a call in the morning.
okay.
Yeah,
Thanks for bringing it up,
gotta
I appreciate
figure
it.
out
Well, I
what to
don't
do
think
with that.
because of an old bylaw, and they were right in requesting it back because they were under the old bylaw, and we continued them, I believe, because of the old bylaw. It's like a loophole, but
They did find a loophole.
I think there should be some
They're
caution
very
looking
clever.
at this now as continuing things under the old bylaw.
I don't think we should renew automatically if it's under the old
That's
bylaw.
That's what I'm getting at. I just couldn't get the words out. But yes,
Yeah,
Right.
because none of us were aware that it would be a problem.
It is what it is. I don't.
Lesson learned,
I'm
but-
I'm not crying in my milk over about it, crying in my beer.
You get gas money to get home?
So was this a house lot that was just never, it's been that many years and the
Oh,
house was never built?
Started before my time.
We haven't got
Started
enough.
Right, I just saw
before
some
my
of the
time.
We
dates.
haven't got enough time to see.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's
Sorry, Dan.
this one has such a long wrap sheet, we'll be here till midnight.
And he has to be off at
So-
10.
If you wanna come in sometime, I
What are
can.
we doing about this? Nothing?
Yes, he has to be
Oh,
done.
what do you want to do? What's the
Send it a
commission's
letter.
pleasure on this to begin with?
Give them a month to repair it.
Send them a letter?
Yep.
Okay.
Any
up
repercussions for
tomorrow.
not complying within a month?
Enforcement order.
Okay. Can you draft that up, Wanda? Thank you.
Make a
Wanna
motion to,
Can we try to get that one out right away, if possible, under the
Yeah, well,
circumstances?
I can get it out probably Friday.
Along with that would be refreshing
All the
Refreshing erosion controls
in
and
the areas of disturbance.
remove excess sediment at the bottom of the hill, restabilize the slopes, refresh erosion controls.
And redirect runoff.
Redirect, yes.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.